is Miguel Myers. Welcome to My Horror Confessional, where every week I will have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. We'll discuss the movie, the actors, and probably get off topic quite a bit. Once I believe that they have properly atoned, I will absolve them of their horror movie sin. Today we have my guest Bobby Torrez, aka Bobby Likes It Spooky. Bobby has a wonderful YouTube channel where he does movie reviews for horror movies and TV shows, including like American Horror Story and Lovecraft Country. Bobby also does panel discussions with a host of other Black horror creators, which is how I found him. I believe I was trying to remember. He has a video called "Queer Representation in Horror" that was absolutely amazing. So you should make sure to go check that out. Bobby, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Miguel. When you invited me, I was like, yes. I know it's been a while, since you was trying to get me on, but just schedules and stuff like that and life. But thank you. I appreciate it. And that was a great intro. I appreciate
Uh,
that.
yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, I'm honored for you to be on here. I follow you on Twitter and on YouTube. I just love the energy you bring and the content you bring. So,
Thank you.
also, I forgot to mention that Bobby is now on a podcast called "The People Under the Scares." Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes. So this is a fairly new podcast that my buddy Mike Brown just started. He's been a good friend of mine for a while, and when he was telling me that he was starting a podcast, I was just like, hell yeah, go for it. Because his taste in horror is just immaculate. Like I just love it. And we just get along. So I was a guest on there, and then he just invited me on fully to be a co-host, and I said, yeah, why not? Because I've been on a bunch of podcasts before and stuff, and I'm familiar with it. So that podcast is just us talking horror, having horror movie discussions, horror movie reviews. Similar to like my channel in a sense, but just on the podcast platform where just two friends are talking, having a good time about horror and all things horror. So yeah.
Nice. So I'm definitely going to be looking that up. The people under the scares. So what I normally ask my guests is what's your history with horror is. Did you grow up liking it? Did you grow up hating it? Did you start liking it as a teenager? Just kind of your general history with horror movies.
Okay. So I grew up loving it. My family is a big horror family. I
Nice.
used to, yeah, like I spend a lot of time with like my aunt and uncle. And we're literally probably like 8, 9 years apart from each other. So I spent a lot of time with them when I was young, when my mom would work, and they're horror movie fans. So I like to thank them when um when I'm talking about this story, just because they got me into it. Like we will sit there and watch Friday the 13th on a random day, or A Nightmare on Elm Street, or Evil Dead, or just something crazy. So, and then my mom loves horror. My grandma, like my, I just have a horror loving family, so that's why I'm like obsessed with it. So that's what got me into it, and here I am today with a YouTube channel talking about it. And you can also thank them. I mean, I know that we are on audio right now, but in the video, obviously you can see the stuff behind me. I think my family, mostly my family, for most of the stuff I had back here because they're gifts. So yeah,
Yeah, and
I
it's
love
just
my
like
family.
it's the setup that you have on your YouTube video. So it's like I feel like I'm watching a YouTube video right now. It's awesome.
Just in real time.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
have I have that Michael Myers where you're standing in front of the gate, the bobblehead
Oh
that's right
yes,
over your shoulder. I had that one. I love that.
I love it.
You can't really see my room, but it's like a shrine to Michael Myers. All thing Michael Myers. I have everything here. But if we were
Nice.
playing a show and tell, I would I would show you everything. But unfortunately, I called you here for a podcast, not to show you all my things.
Look, this is
But
I'm a horror. I mean, not horror. I'm a Michael Myers stan. Okay, so I'm with
okay,
you. I anytime somebody bring up Halloween, because Halloween, first of all, is my number one horror movie. So
my guy.
I can literally talk for hours about Michael Myers. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
with you, my guy. I'm with you.
Okay. um, I have a friend called Max Booth III. He had a movie come out last year
Dope.
from IFC. But he also has a podcast called Ghoulish, and he had me on the show to talk about Halloween and Michael Myers. And his shows are normally 45 minutes to an hour, and my episode with him was like 4 hours long. because we were just talking Michael Myers. He's like, whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about
Yes.
it. I was like, dude, you don't know how you fucked up because you fucked up.
Yeah. Well, guess what? When Halloween ends come, me and you are getting together and we're gonna talk about this shit. Regardless if it's on
I saw
here,
your Halloween
okay?
Kills
Oh,
review.
you seen it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Well,
great.
I'm gonna do a panel for that, and I'm gonna make sure that I invite you on to that if you're down.
I, of
Because
course, I'm always down. Thank
all
you. I
right,
appreciate
I'm
that.
gonna remember that. Got you.
Yeah. All right. So you said that your family loved it, which is great. As I've said on this show before, I was kind of like the only one in my family, and even in my friend group who liked horror. So my journey with horror has always been kind of a solo one until fairly recently. Um, so it sounds like you had that connection with your family, which was great. How about externally with friends and in school? Were you like the creepy bitch that everybody was scared of, or did you have a group of horror friends?
I didn't, unfortunately, because in like middle school, I felt like I showed like my horror side more so in middle school rather than high school. Sorry, dogs again. Sorry. Um, so in high school, I felt like I was more into like music and just learning about myself and just getting into myself more and just changes and phases and things like that.
Mhm.
So I always loved horror, but like my friend, and then when I would talk about horror, my friends would just be like I'm no, not really, whatever. Every once in a while, we would go to see a movie. Like I remember going with my best friend, to see The Grudge 2, and we went to go see Final Destination 3 and the Omen remake in high school. But that was like a rare occasion with them. So I wish I lived my hard best life in high school, but at that time it was just like a weird time as a teenager. But I wish I had like a whole horror clique of friends. That would have been a great
Yeah.
time.
Well, I'm finding that I'm making that horror click like now through Twitter and then through some other podcasts that I listen to, making friends through there, which is great. What's the origin of Bobby Likes It Spooky?
Ooh. Okay, so I started my YouTube channel maybe almost 3 years ago. And it was just Bobby Torrez because I didn't have a fancy proper name or anything. And I always went by Bobby Torrez on social media since I started being on it.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, just put me on there. But then I was thinking really hard because my favorite zombie movie is Return of the Living Dead, right? And if you remember Trash, where she's having this conversation, she's like, you already laughing,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and she's dancing. I think what was damn, I'm drawing the far. Was it Suicide? I think it was Suicide. And she was like, I like it spooky, and I was just like, yes, Bobby likes it spooky. And I just love that movie. I love that character. I love everybody in that movie. And I just took a quote from one of my favorite characters in that movie and just infused it in what I do. So there you go.
Yeah,
So I always done horror movie reviews and ratings and stuff. I just changed the name when I finally was just like, you know what, I want to make it this. It's different. It's funny, and a lot of people won't get the reference most likely until I say something, or if they're fans of Return of the Living Dead, and they were like, you know what, he got it from that. So
yeah.
that's the origin.
That's great, man. That's one of my favorite horror movies as well. And I know the line, but I never made the connection. And it's so funny, man. It's like that's a great name for that.
Yeah. I when you hear the opening on my like my little mini theme song, like before I start my videos, or when I started, but I like bring it on like midway, when you see my logo and the music is playing, you literally hear Trash in the beginning. I like it spooky, and
I
then you
like
hear the
this.
song, and then it goes into me with my reviews and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So, Bobby, you have come on today. You've blessed the show with your presence to confess your sin to never having seen the Changeling from
Yes,
1980. Is that correct?
that is correct. I never seen this movie. I always seen this movie around, like the poster art. And I always like, I want to watch this. I want to watch it. Never got a chance to watch it, and I watched it, and here I am today.
Okay. And so, why do you think this particular movie passed you by?
Because
Because we all have our list, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you,
oh no, no, go ahead.
but we all have our lists, right? And then we just keep adding and adding and adding to the movies we want to see. But there's always like that one at the top that just keeps getting, shuffled down or whatever, So yeah, I'm always curious as to why particular movies pass people by.
So for me, this movie passed me by. Again, I always seen it, but I I'm more of a slasher guy. So I always in the gore and stuff like that. So I seen the poster art and things like that, and I'm just like, all right, cool. This movie looks fine, and I'll watch it. Whenever as a chill day, because it looks like that type of movie. And then reading the synopsis of it, I'm just like, all right, cool. But then always, like you said, something just keeps coming up, and then something um gets my interest even more, and then I forget about the movie, and then I see it pop up again. I'm like, oh yeah, I meant to watch that. But I think, and I say as cliche as this sounds, I feel like everything does happen for a reason, and I think the reason why I probably didn't see those that this movie in particular a while ago, and even like currently up until like now is probably because of this, because to talk about it with you, because I probably would have seen this movie eventually. I probably would have seen it eventually, but I don't know when. But this right here was just like, here you go. This is meant to talk about it with Miguel here. So I said, all right, here we go. And it was a fun time.
Hell yeah, I like that. All right, cool. With that positive energy going in, let's start talking about this movie then. Uh, so the Changeling, like I said, it came out in 1980, directed by Peter Medak, who also directed Species Two, but based on a story by Russell Hunter, and actually the character's name John Russell after him. The movie is based on events which supposedly took place at Henry Treat Rogers Mansion in Denver, Colorado, while Russell Hunter was living there during the 60s. The Chessman Park neighborhood in the movies is a reference to Chessman Park in Denver, where the original haunting transpired. After experiencing a series of unexplained phenomena, Hunter said he found a century old journal in a hidden room detailing the life of a disabled boy who was kept in isolation by his parents. During a seance, he claimed the spirit of a deceased boy directed him to another house where he discovered human remains and a gold medallion bearing the dead boy's name. So basically, the whole movie, Russell Hunter says he experienced it. You know, I doubt that, but it's cool to hear. Also, let's get this right out in the beginning. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, I believe in
Okay,
ghosts. When I was younger, I had a few things happen to me, not necessarily seeing ghosts, but just weird things happening involving toys. And I talked about this before in another podcast, but ever since then I believe in ghosts and just weird coincident things happening when I was younger. I remember one time, my first time watching Poltergeist by myself, because I heard about the movie being cursed and all the crazy things that come with that movie. And I remember watching it by myself, and literally just to let you know, during the day the sun was out. No, it wasn't rainy or anything. It was just a beautiful day. Literally, my power goes out, comes back on, and I'm just like, all right, let me go into my porch, and a cloud comes, like it gets like an overcast. It gets really dark, and then it just starts pouring, and then thundering, and then lightning, just in a matter of seconds. And I was freaking out, so I went, and I was by myself, and I ran back in the house, like ran back in the house from my porch. And I went in my room. I'm like, all right, like I'm probably tripping. I mean, this is like nature or whatever. And then I heard a
uh-huh.
slam downstairs, like in my dining room area. So my dumb ass, I go downstairs, and then it happens to be my basement door. I only had a cat at the time, and my cat was in the room with me. So why is my basement door slamming? So it was just like weird stuff that happened like that, and just like
That ghost don't pay no bills in the house to be slamming doors, right?
right. So it was just that, and again, and that's just stuff that I can't explain. And along with other things, like I told you, that happened with like toys and stuff, but that's a long story. And just stories I heard within like my family, like creepy uh black magic type things that happened within my family.
Okay.
And it had me thinking that it is affecting like us now, like as adults, and even like when we were kids. So that's a long story. I know I'm like a little bit choppy, but it's just so much that go into it. But I know this is a long answer, but yes, I believe in ghosts and spirits.
Bobby, I am here for it. I wanted to hear the expanded version if you got it, but I understand. Um, yeah, I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay.
However, this movie was creepy as fuck,
Yes.
even without believing in the ghosts or whatever. But
Yeah.
and I needed to back up for a second and say that my resources that I used for my research was IMDb, Wikipedia, thequietest.com, and IndieWire. All right, so it was written by William Gray, who wrote Prom Night, and Diana Maddox, starring George C. Scott, who was from The Exorcist 3 and Firestarter.
Who I love. I love both
Uh,
of those movies.
Exorcist 3 is so fucking good.
So good.
Everybody needs to see it,
So good.
And he's so good in it too.
He is. He's great in
Oscar
it.
winner. He's an Oscar winner, I forgot to
Oh
say.
yeah, of course. Of course he is.
And it's also starring Trish Vanderveer. She was in The Landlord, and they were actually married. Publicity for this picture stated that they had made 7 films together in their 8 years of marriage at the time. This movie being their eighth, and they were married together. I'm sorry, they were married until his death in 1999, and Trish is still alive. So I thought that was really cool that they were a married
Yeah,
couple that
that's
was
really
making movies together.
yeah, that's dope. I would love to do that like with my partner. Like we make the same type of art together and just I don't know. I feel like that's just something special right there. So good for them.
Yeah, because when you're on a movie set, like you're away from your family for months at a time.
Right.
So if you're like, if you want me, hire my wife, or if you want me, hire my husband, and then they just go together. It's cool.
Yeah, right.
So I just wanted to say, in a year notable for the releases like Cannibal Holocaust, Maniac, and Roger Corman's aquatic monster fest, Humanoids from the Deep, the Changeling stands out as different, as more like an older, classier, like vintage movie, reminiscent of the Gothic movies from the 60s and 70s from Britain. So the movie starts with the sounds of eerie wind howling lowly. Then we see an isolated country road lined with evergreen trees covered in snow. The road is blanketed in snow as well. On screen, we see the letters come up: Upstate New York, November 27th, which doesn't come back in the rest of the movie. Like they don't like continue to do that later on. So I don't
Right.
know why it was so important that we know that date. Just a little, it was weird. I don't know if you caught that as
No, I
well.
had. There's a couple things that they kind of go to and don't come back to in this movie, and maybe they do, and I just missed it because this is my first time watching it, and I only watched it one time. So maybe if I watch it a few more
Yeah.
times, I get to, fully digest it and also see things that I probably missed before. But not just that, but there's a few other things I'm just like, but that had nothing to do with happened in the beginning of the movie. But okay. Um,
All right. Well, let me know when we get there. Bring it up, and we'll
okay.
see.
Yeah, maybe you can help
Because I
me.
know.
Maybe you have answers. I don't know.
Okay. Cool. So then we see a man, a woman, and a child pushing a station wagon by hand up the road. And I don't know how old you are, but those station wagons, I grew up in that era. Those station wagons weighed literally a ton or two.
Oh yeah.
So like that woman, his wife, she's maybe what 110 pounds, and she's behind there pushing like in the snow, and they're going uphill. Like
Right.
there's absolutely no
There's no
way.
way.
But
No.
okay, and then their little daughter was helping as well. I don't think so, man.
I
It's
agree.
movie magic, right?
Yeah, movie magic definitely.
Yeah. So, but the family's jolly, like cracking jokes and all that, which is not like what my family would be at all. We'd be swearing at each other and
Yeah,
angry.
mad as shit.
But this, yeah, I told you to put gas in the car before we left.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
It would not be a great experience. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So they managed to push the car to the side of the road, after which John walks across the road to place an emergency call. His wife and child stay by the car and have a snowball fight. While he's in the phone booth, which, like, what are those? We don't see those anymore.
Yeah, I was like, what
We
is
see
that? Where do you go in? I'm joking.
They just got a random phone on the
Right,
side
it's
of the
just like
road.
in a
Really?
box. What? Okay.
Because I did The Ring last week with Zachary Ashford, who's an author, and I was just like, VHS tapes. Like nowadays, kids wouldn't know what the hell that was. What the hell?
No.
Like you have to put in a cassette tape into VCR to watch a movie.
And
You
then
can't just
rewind
download it.
it, and then you can like,
And then
yeah,
yeah,
it's just like, well, you gotta press a button to do that, and that's how it rewinds. Because literally with DVDs, it's totally different, or Blu-rays, but with VHS, it's literally you see like it, the tape. It's just a lot.
rewinding. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's I had the same feeling of that for phone booths.
yeah,
I can't imagine what like a what do they call Gen Zers or whatever
yeah.
would think a phone booth is.
When
And
was
it's
the
just
last
funny.
time you used one?
I couldn't honestly. I think they were out of style already when I was growing up. So I mean, I was born in '82,
Mm-hmm.
so I think they were gone by the time. Oh, I phone booths definitely. I've definitely used phone. I'm, what am I thinking of? Not
Payphone.
the actual phone booth where you staying where you walk in,
Yeah,
but I've used a public phone,
yeah.
but I just haven't walked in. Have you ever used one?
Yeah, well, I haven't used a phone booth one, like when you walk into the box, shut the.
Yeah,
But I use the payphone, where the phone is,
payphone.
yeah,
I couldn't think of the word.
it's just out there in the open. You're just like, oh, there you go. You put a quarter in and just like call somebody or whatever. The last time I used one was in 2007, and I haven't seen them like since. In 2007, like I did have like a cell phone and stuff, but we had like maybe two payphones around my neighborhood that was still working and active. And I remember like
Yeah,
my phone was dead, and I was like taking public transportation at the time, and I was trying to get like a ride, and I had changed. So I said, "Oh my gosh, thank God for a payphone!" And I literally like I made a call on a payphone, and it worked. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome!" I forgot. Now they're completely gone. You don't see one around. So,
yeah.
um,
The only time I'll see them is in the airport in
yeah,
like a public transportation area.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like, did you ever growing up? Were you like going in to check to see if there was any change
Oh yeah, like the little
in the
slot
phone booth?
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then do you remember the urban myth or urban legend about needles being in there?
No.
So I grew up in Chicago. I don't know where you grew up, but um, in Chicago there was this urban myth, urban legend. I guess in my area, I don't know if it was elsewhere, where there was needles, like tainted needles, like drug needles that people would put in there for when people were just looking for the change. And so that's why I stopped doing it, because of an urban legend. Like
That's
I
scary.
never looked it up. I'm sure it's literally just that, an urban legend, but I was just remembering that right now.
Yeah, that's scary. I never heard of that, but I can't imagine like, oh, let me see if there I could find like 50 cents, and then I get stabbed with some fucking needle.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah. So that's why I stopped. I was like, nah, 50 cents ain't worth it.
No, definitely not.
While he's in the phone booth, we see two vehicles converging on them, one from either direction. One's a normal sedan, the other's like a salt truck. In slow motion, we see John realize something bad is happening as the sedan loses control on the road and starts swerving into the salt truck's path. Um, the salt truck also swerves to avoid hitting the car. Unfortunately, it plows directly into the family station wagon, which the mom and daughter were standing right in front of. And there's no way they survived. Then we get the title card, The Changeling. And I actually looked it up because I've seen this movie 3 times, and I think like every time I see this movie, I look it up. But a changeling is a child secretly exchanged for another when they're a baby in infancy.
Yeah.
That's what a changeling
So
is. So
yeah, all right. So me, I thought this movie was more. I mean, it is supernatural, but there's the remember the show Supernatural with the two brothers and stuff. And they kind of was like going on like
yeah,
demons, and they had an episode called The Changeling or something. And every time I like watch horror stuff, like the Changeling to me was always like this demon entity that would like become like your child or whatever, like a doppelganger, and then they switch and they got you like caved up somewhere or something. You know what I mean? And then the
okay,
changeling's
yeah,
out
yeah,
there
yeah.
wrecking havoc and being a crazy badass, where the good one's somewhere like in a stored inside a tree or something. So when I see, so I thought this was the concept of. this movie a little
That's a
bit.
completely different movie
So
than what we
different.
got here.
So
Yeah.
different. I mean, I don't mind this movie obviously, but I was just like, okay, I see. I mean, obviously changing it can mean different things, but that's the mindset that I was going into before. So
I got you. Yeah, because that movie that you described sounds awesome, but this movie is like a slow, quiet burn.
yes.
You know, it has like it could be even more different than the other one. So that I think
Right.
that's hilarious. I think that's hilarious. So the director Peter Medak was actually able to bring a lot of personal tragic experiences from his own life into this film, and I think that's why it's so good. His father died in his arms after 4 years in a Soviet camp.
Wow.
He also lost his older brother when he was just 14 years old, and his first wife committed suicide while he was working on an earlier film of his.
Oh my god.
So he had a lot of tragic things happening in his life, and I feel that he understands the character of the father throughout this movie. You know, he's it's a tragic life, a tragic character.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I no, no, I agree. Like, and you can sense that in movie. Like when I watch movies, like I try, like I put myself in situations because that's how I enjoy my movies, and that's how I feel like um I try to understand what the actor's trying to do, and you can definitely sense the grief in what John was going through in this movie, especially in the beginning of the film, and even throughout the film you can kind of like feel like a heaviness, at least for me, and I'm just like, yeesh, like all supernatural stuff aside, like just like that situation there, it was really really deep to me. So I can tell that this director definitely put his like his personal stuff into this because I can feel it.
yeah, definitely. The Changing tells a story of a man haunted by, like literally haunted by the death of his family. So it owes a lot to the director's understanding of the power of grief, like you were saying. So later we see John Russell, played by George C. Scott. He's a composer, and he's attempting to go to work, but he can no longer do so. He's a lost man. He's walking around the city of New York without anywhere to go. He heads back home to an empty, packed up apartment. There's one window open with the breeze coming through the curtains as this haunting score is played in the background. His maid calls his name, which pulls him into a memory of him playing the piano near that same open window while his daughter played with a red and white bouncy ball, actually tossing the ball to him, saying, "Daddy, catch." And this music is actually diegetic, meaning part of the fictional setting, and so presumably it's heard by the characters, as George C. Scott actually learned the music on the piano for this role. So when he's playing the piano, like when his character is playing the piano, that's George C. Scott playing the piano, which I
Wow.
thought is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
You
dope.
know,
I love that.
yeah, he's actually. So I meant to say this earlier, but he's like 53 years old in this movie. He looks like he's 80. Yeah, I saw your face. He looks like he's 80. He's only 53. Like
So this movie
what the
came out in
hell?
1980, correct?
Yeah.
And The
Yep.
Exorcist 3 came out maybe in the 80s as well. When did Firestarter come out, in the 70s?
So Firestarter was
Oh,
84.
84.
Exorcist 3 was 90.
Oh, you're right. Exorcist 3 was like the 90s.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I don't know. He looked like he lived a rough life, and
Right.
that's something that I've seen like with older generations is they look like they went through shit. Like the newer generation is aging a lot better than that older generation
Okay, you're
was.
like in my head. So I was literally having this conversation earlier today, like literally today, where when you watch like sitcoms and stuff and you see the parents on there and they supposed to be like 30-year-olds, but they look like they're like 40 and 50. And I'm just like, I'm 30 something and I do not look like I'm supposed to be raising like five kids and a whole bunch of stuff. Like when you see our generation, we still look like really young and youthful.
Yeah.
But when you see like these actors from like the 90s and even with this time, it's just like y'all were really that age. Like I hate to see what y'all look like when y'all were 20. Jeez, like,
Yeah.
so I was
Like
having
I'm
this
still walking
conversation
around
today.
in
That's
like a
funny.
Michael Myers shirt, you know?
Just saying.
Yeah.
Screaming
Yeah, they looked like it was rough. And, yeah, exactly. Nice. I like it.
baby.
He's got a ghost shirt on. Ghost face, I should say. Yeah, so when I saw his face, Like I was like, I have to look it up. I'm like, man, he looks old. And then I remembered like he was in The Exorcist 3. So I looked it up. I was like, holy shit, 53 years old. So yeah, it's a rough life. Because also, like, for in my head, a man that looked like 80 shouldn't be having like a 6-year-old daughter or whatever. So that's why I looked up his age, and it wasn't making sense to me. But 53, I guess. I don't know.
Oh
All right.
man, that's crazy. I'm happy I didn't grow
Yeah.
up in them times.
Exactly right. So the ball actually fell out of the toy box that the maid was carrying, which brings him back from the memory, pulls him back. I thought that was a really nice way to show us a nice memory he had with his daughter.
Yeah, I actually felt for him at that scene too, though. Like I got sad instantly because it's hard. I mean, knock on wood and stuff, and I've been blessed, but I haven't really had any. Like I had people around me passed away that's like not my immediate family, but people I know of. But like my immediate family is pretty, they're great, thank God. But I can't imagine that like losing my mom or my sister or just somebody as close to me. I mean, let alone a child,
Yeah,
and like you seeing like this vision of your daughter like throwing a ball at you, but it's not really. It's just it's heartbreaking and stuff like that. Little scenes like that in movies get to me, and it makes me sad.
I feel you. As somebody who has lost a family member, the grief is terrible and it sucks. And it's they actually used this ball later on very effectively throughout the movie, and
Oh
so
yes.
we'll come back to that. But yeah, it's so good. So following the tragic incidents, John has decided to move cross country to Washington State. It's only been about 4 months since the incidents, and he's trying to move on. He's gotten a job at a new school. We learn as he's chatting with some friends over dinner. This is where I said again, I cannot stress this enough. This man is 53 years old. He looks 80. We've already talked about it. I'll move on, but like, whenever they do close-ups of his face, I'm like, fuck, dude, damn. Maybe it's the smoking because he's also a smoker. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
and
don't know.
smoking
So
can age you, and so that's probably the case with him.
yeah.
Or he just don't moisturize.
So
He never moisturize. You have to moisturize people.
that
That helps.
that's true, y'all. You
Mhm.
gotta moisturize.
Mhm.
So his friends ask him if he will be staying at a hotel for very long, but he says no. He needs to find a house where he can hole up and quote unquote pound away at the piano. The friend offers to introduce him to another friend who works at a historical preservation society, and she's sure that they rent some of them out. So we're then introduced to Claire Norman, Trish Vanderveer, his real life wife. She's a rental agent from the society. She gives him a tour of a large, old, and eerie Victorian era mansion. This place is massive, with a long driveway leading up to the facade. And I wrote here, a facade it actually was because the house seen in the movie in real life doesn't and never actually did exist. The filmmakers could not find a suitable mansion to use for the film, so at a cost of about $200,000, the production had a Victorian Gothic mansion facade attached to the front of a much more modern dwelling in
Whoa.
Vancouver.
Wow.
So this construction was used for the filming of all the exteriors of the movie's Carmichael Mansion. The interiors of the haunted house were an elaborate group of interconnecting sets built inside of a film studio in Vancouver. So this blew my mind when I read this because this house looks like it's been there for centuries.
Right.
They did a great job, but it's all wood and
Yeah.
paint. It's
Movie
great.
magic, man. It's crazy like what you can do. That's wild. You can literally. All right. And I had a first taste of this a little bit because I did a little small indie film here in Philadelphia a long time ago. And it was supposed to be in this like post-apocalyptic like future situation going on. Anyway, I played like this hobo that like stole people money. I didn't, it was whatever. I was like, cool, I'll take it as a role. So anyway, I'm talking to these two girls. They're like killers or whatever. And literally, as I'm like, we're filming this, like we're by this U-Haul truck in this junkyard. So that U-Haul truck, the door, like when you open it, they supposed to go into it, and then all of a sudden it's like this magical like wizard world or whatever. And they talking
Yeah,
to this guy with all this money. In actuality, it's just a fucking U-Haul truck. But when you see the movie, they go inside this like door, and this is like this magical world. But they literally went inside a U-Haul truck. So I'll be cracking up every time. Like when I show that movie to my like my family and friends, there's just like, oh, that's cool. Like, where were you guys? So I was like, that was a U-Haul truck in the junkyard. That wasn't real. So movie magic is just decent. Like what the exterior can be is totally different from the interior. It's all about editing. It's all about
Yeah,
editing how
exactly.
you put things together.
What was the name of the movie? Do you want to tell, or
Yeah, yeah,
is it
sure. It's called
lost?
it's called Apocalypse Kiss. It's about these two, technically three killers. It's about these two women that's on the run. They're lesbians. One of them's supposed to be mute, but she has a dark secret. And then you have another killer, an OCD killer, that his kills have to be really precise. And it's set in, a post-apocalyptic world. Everything's falling apart. There's a battle between the rich and the poor. Meanwhile, there's a meteor that's about to blow up the damn earth. So it's so much going on in this movie. It's a mess. It's a hot ass mess, but it's a fun time. And there's Lloyd Kaufman. Do you know Lloyd Kaufman? Yeah, he's in the
Yeah, yeah,
movie. He
Lloyd
plays
Kaufman.
the
Yeah.
president in the movie. And then you have Michael Berryman.
Did it come out from Trauma?
No. The director, he personally
Okay.
knew like him from events and stuff like that, so he happened to be in the movie. And then you have Michael Berryman. He was in Hills Have Eyes, and I think he did like a few Rob Zombie movies. Um,
Yeah, he's the
I know what you
I don't,
mean. Yeah,
how do you say
yeah, he looks
it
different.
looks
And
different.
then
He
you have
looks
Tom
different.
Atkins. Tom Atkins in the
Yes.
movie. He
Okay.
plays a detective. So
What is this movie called again? Oh, wait.
yeah,
I gotta write this down,
it's
dude.
called
That sounds
Apocalypse Kiss,
awesome.
and it's on Tubi. It's on Tubi TV for
Okay.
free if you want to check it out. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And
I'm in
you're in
there
it.
for like I don't
Do
have
you
a
have
huge
like
role. I'm in there literally
okay?
for like 1 minute, but it's me. And I have a little
Hell yeah,
dialogue
that's
and then
cool,
that's
man.
it. And yeah, it's a cool movie. I will say I had fun. The movie had potential. It is a mess. It's not the greatest movie. I will say that it's not. It could have, it could have went a different direction. But what I will say, and this is why I love indie filmmakers, is that um, with the little money that you have, you can build this incredible world. And when you look at this movie, you be like, "Yo, how did they do that? How did they use these graphics? How did they move? Like, how did they do most of these things?" And it's all about just the group of people you have and what you can put together, and you can make an awesome movie. So when you see this movie, it is trash, but it looks
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
All right, I'm gonna check it out. Do you mind if I link it in the show notes
yeah,
when
yeah, yeah.
this
Sure,
episode comes
why
out?
not? Thank you.
All right, cool, cool. Hell yeah. Apocalypse Kiss. I mean, they made Halloween on $300,000
Right,
budget. It was the highest ranking movie on the lowest budget for a very long time.
right.
So I get it. So John asks Claire when it was last occupied, and she says 12 years ago. So John is delighted by the house. As soon as he enters, he asks why it hasn't been lived in, and she says she thinks it's because they haven't tried too hard to rent it, which we'll get into later. So Claire tells him that the reason she thought of him for this house because it had a music room and a piano from the previous occupants. Shortly, we see that John has rented the home and it's being tidied up inside. And the interiors, the set designer for this movie did an outstanding job. I mean, the interiors for this house look gorgeous. It's like wood paneling everywhere, but not that wood, like the cheap wood paneling from the 80s. That's not really wood that I grew up with, but like actual wood and tile and just it looks amazing. The whole
Oh
house looks
yeah,
great.
it looks great. It looks amazing. That's why when you told me like it's like all of this is not connected, I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not like the window that when we're inside. It's not like there's no windows. We see light coming from outside. So was it fake? They again movie magic, right? It's just the U-Haul truck. That's all it was. Yeah. So we see that what looked cold and dusty before now looks warm and inviting. And John's playing the piano while workers around him are working. We meet Mr. Tuttle, who's the hired man, and he calls John away to deal with some business. And as he walks away, the camera pans back to the piano and zooms in on the keys. And then until finally a key is pressed, but no one is around to have pressed it. So we're like, a ghost. Like, who pressed it? We don't know. But once it's pressed, we hear like this discordant music and it sounds great. So later, at his new teaching position, John walks into his classroom, which immediately goes from buzzing to silent. And I was going to ask you, did you ever get that feeling of like walking into a room and knowing that everyone was just talking about you?
Oh yeah,
Like, because that's what
yeah,
happened here, right? But that times 300, because that's how many people felt like were in this room.
yeah.
John then says that he was under the impression that only 30 some odd people signed up for the lecture. He says it's not raining outside and there's not a fire elsewhere on campus, so there's a lot of people in here with nothing better to do. My question is, are they there out of like morbid curiosity or because he's like that famous of a composer, like Liberace or something?
Yeah, that's what I was
Well, I don't
thinking.
know. What was your
Yeah,
impression?
no, I was unsure about the same thing. I wasn't too sure if he was just like they're just I don't know. It was the same thing, honestly. I was a little confused, and that was another thing. I was just like, wait, huh? Is it just to get away and just to I don't know. I was still confused about that like situation too. So maybe again, if I go back and rewatch it, make sense for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I feel like I don't think he. Well, if we think about it, he rents his mansion and he's the only one working. And so, well, actually, I take the back. I don't know if his wife was working, but after they passed away, he's only got one income, definitely, right? But he's able to afford to rent this huge mansion off of one income. So either he's really famous and rich for being a composer, or it's capitalism and we're all screwed because we can't afford a regular house on like two people's incomes, you know?
Yeah,
But back in the day, this man could afford a fucking mansion with just one income. So
I wish I could.
yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Either way, he sits down to the piano and plays a tune. And this is a very nice transition to a symphony event that he's at with friends. And I'm glad that he's getting out. And everybody grieves differently, but he looks like he's having a fun time, like with his high society snobs, you know. And I'm like, it's only been well, maybe now 5 months when your wife and child just died. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be heading out to parties and concerts and stuff, but
Again, like I don't know, like I've never been there, but it's just like I can't imagine like it would take me a lot longer. Wait, like how long was it again? Like how was yeah,
4 months.
4 months. That's not enough time. It was. I mean, everybody grieves differently, so maybe this is just his
Yeah.
way. But for me, think I probably would need like at least a year or so. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We do see later on in the movie him actually crying over his family, but it seems maybe he's more of a private person. Like he's in his bedroom, in his bed crying. He doesn't let anybody else see that,
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair.
So I can understand
I
that as
get
well
that.
because I am like that as well. I'm trying actively hard not to be that person. I'm in therapy to not be that person, you know. So I can see whereas he would probably not go to therapy, and so that's how
Yeah,
he's dealing with it.
yeah. And when you're alone, just let it all out. So I mean, I get that too. I understand.
So at the event, he bumps into Claire and her mother. We are then introduced to Senator Joseph Carmichael, who decides to give an impromptu speech, which was weird. But I think the speech, we find out that he's actually a philanthropist for a lot of different causes. One of which is the symphony. So Claire and John decide to talk instead of listen to the speech, which I was grateful for. Oh. So Claire informs John that she has some things at the historical society that belong to the house that he's renting, and she'll make sure to get them to him. This feels like a plot device to get her to still be in the movie because, like, what other reason would she have unless she's flirting? Which I don't think so. That's not what happens. So, uh, yeah, we see later on that what she brings over is so unnecessary. Like, I feel like they just needed to keep her in the movie.
R-
You
Okay,
know,
I see that.
I mean, I'll just say it. Like later on, she brings back some prints and like a restored photograph, but the prints don't come back, and neither does the restored photograph. I thought something was going to happen with the restored photograph. I thought he was going to see something and be like, "Oh shit, that's a clue," but it doesn't happen. So then the only other reason that they have that is for her to return back. So I don't know. I like seeing plot devices like that when I can pick one up in a movie. I like seeing
Yeah,
that.
I get you.
So that night, while in bed, he is woken by the horribly loud sounds of banging reverberating throughout the house. Try as he might, he can't seem to locate the source of the noise, but it stops soon after. And when we find out later on what that noise was, it's devastating. like to actually find out what that was. So later, while at the piano, a door swings open on its own. John goes to close it and is startled by Mr. Tuttle, who says he's the only other person in the house. Back at the piano, he plays a tune while we get images of the empty house with its music echoing off of its walls. I noticed that we get a lot of shots of a particular staircase, which is going to come into play later on.
Yeah,
It's kind of foreshadowing its use.
yeah. I have to
Um,
say, the music on here, not just like the piano, but like just the music, the score in the movie. I know this movie was obviously made in the '70s because it came out in exactly 1980. But I
yeah,
got like Black Christmas vibes, the original Black Christmas, just because how it just sound, and even how the film looked. It just gave me like those vibes, and I know these are two completely different movies, but just the way it looked and just the sound, like it just the loud the loud piano noises, like the keys and stuff like that, and just like these weird and like I'm not a music person, so I don't know exactly what is what, but there's some similarity
yeah,
between the two.
yeah, definitely. I feel like there's a definite cutoff in score in horror music scores. It's like 50s, 60s, 70s. There's strings and there's chords and there's pianos and like actual instruments, and then like 80s 90s we start getting synth and
Yeah,
like with John Carpenter and all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, in this movie, seeing as how it's kind of harkening back to the old style, it has those strings and those pianos and it sounds very um very melodic and it soothing in a way but also very very creepy,
yeah, it's very
really
eerie
creepy.
to me, very eerie. And I usually watch movies with the closed caption on sometimes, just in case. I just want to hear them correctly, and see exactly what they said. And when the closed caption like ominous music and eerie music is playing and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, it is. The '70s is definitely known for that shit. They'll get you.
You're like that part.
Yeah.
um Yeah, I always have the captions on because I hate missing things, and so I feel you there. And I also like I speak Spanish, and so whenever I'm watching a movie that's in Spanish but that's being translated to English, whenever the two don't line up, I'm like, that's not what they said. So I like watching that. Back at the piano, John switches on a recorder to record the song that he's working on. And I just have to say, like, it's at this point that I realize, like, I love the slow burn, like the character development, the patience with which the director is entrusting us, the audience, to be like, you know what, somebody isn't being killed every 30 seconds or every minute or whatever, but we're still engrossed in this film, and it just goes to show you, like, first of all, the story, the script itself, but also the directing was just top notch, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Um, that's one thing about like movies from back in the day too. Like they didn't have to give us a whole bunch of scares. Um, Music plays a huge part in it, like what you were just talking about, and also just character development is great too. And then when you finally get to the action towards the end of the film, like the climax or the third act, whatever you want to call it, it all makes sense and you feel for the characters in whatever way how you want to feel towards them because of all the character buildup that you got in the beginning, which is great. Because I mean, obviously we have those movies where you got teenagers in a camp or whatever and they're all expendable, so they all getting slashed and killed. You don't care about those characters. But in these movies here, again, like this one and like Black Christmas and just whatever, those are slow burns, like leading up to like the big finale, and you actually care what happened to these characters towards the end. Even though in this one right here, we were really focused on just one character, maybe two if you want to, count the lady, but we were focused more so on John. So we're following his journey from the beginning to the end and solving this mystery. And when we finally get what we got, we're not there yet. You're just like, oh damn, that is pretty deep. So I appreciate
Yeah.
like the slow burn because it leads up to something great. Now, if you do a slow burn and then like the third act is ridiculous. I mean, you know what? Like that was a waste of my time. But they did a great
Yeah,
job.
if it doesn't pay
Yeah,
off, if it doesn't pay off, then you're like, what the fuck,
yeah.
you know?
You
So,
wasted
but
an
yeah,
hour and
I
40
agree.
something minutes of my time.
Yeah. Later, we see John reading as he's listening back to the tape that he just made of himself playing, and this reminded me. Do you know the comedian Aziz Ansari?
Yes, I love Aziz
So he,
Ansari. He's
yeah, I
great.
love Aziz
Yeah.
Ansari. He has this joke on his first CD. I forget what it's called, but it's about him hanging out with Kanye West, and he says that Kanye invited him to Kanye's house to have just to have a party, or whatever. And I think Aziz was one of the first ones to get there, and he walks in, and Kanye's just on his couch, just listening to Kanye's music, just bobbing his head, just like rocking out. And Aziz was like, "Are you listening to your own music in your own house right now? That's the most baller shit I ever heard." And that's exactly what I was thinking right now. John's just like reading, listening to his own shit. You know, it's just hilarious to me.
See, the only time I listen to myself is obviously like to support, you guys podcasters, or when I'm editing my own videos because I have to listen to myself to make sure things are good. But I don't like to go back to
Yeah,
it because I hate the way I sound 100% of the time. I know a lot of us hate the way we talk. You know what I mean? Because we're not really used to it. But after a while, when you are a creator and you're doing podcasts or videos or whatever, you have to do that because I mean it is what it is. But I can't imagine just sitting
yeah.
there just like watching my own reviews like, yeah, go ahead, go ahead, Bobby. Yeah, I agree absolutely with
Yeah,
it. Like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's weird.
yeah. Well, see, that's where you're wrong, Bobby. I love the sound of my own voice,
Okay,
so like
I love
I'm
that.
with it. All right. So then Claire walks in with the stuff that belonged to the old house. I'm sorry, yeah, to the old house, like we talked about earlier. Some prints and an old distorted photograph. As she looks around, she remarks on a beautiful wooden chest, but then she just walks over to it and opens it up. And I'm like, bitch, this ain't your house. What are you doing? Like, you can't, like,
You just
we all know there's certain people who act like that,
Yeah,
right?
you just
And
walk
she
around
is
touching shit.
falling,
Like, don't be touching anything, man. What are you doing?
yeah. And then she pulls out something. So it's one thing to like if you're just messing around, like look something up, okay, fine. But then she pulls something out. That's how you get into situations you don't want to be in. That's why you're in this situation right now, Claire.
Hmm.
So she pulls out the old the old red and white ball from earlier, and John informs her that it was his daughter Kathy's. And I'm like, see, this is why we keep our noses out of people's shit, because now you just make the situation awkward,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
So she makes a speedy exit.
Of
He
course.
asks, she's like, oh, she's like, sorry.
I'm like, no, you wanna ask questions, you wanna touch my shit, you gonna sit here and listen to this story right here. Fuck that.
Yeah, he should have been like, it was a dark and stormy
Right.
night. There was snow
It was
everywhere.
a dark and snowy night. It was a blizzard. We were
Yeah,
pushing our
it
car.
was a blizzard. Right. I could still see her bloody face
Right.
everywhere. Well, that's the other thing about this movie is there's literally no blood.
There's not. And that's one thing that movies from the 70s and well, coming from the 70s, and I know this is an 80s movie, but it's made in the 70s, you can tell. They really didn't
Yeah,
use much blood. Halloween, we didn't see blood really at all. And look how effective that movie
right.
was. So,
Yeah,
and even though that was 78, but this is a product, from the 70s, from the 80s, and say it again, but it's no blood, and just see how everything worked out for this movie and just how suspenseful it is and even how fucking scary it is. So um I love it. You can make things work
yeah,
without blood.
yeah. Exactly. I think nowadays, don't get me wrong, I'm a gore hound. I'm a gore fiend. I love that shit as well. But there's room for everything in horror movies. That's what I like. There's so many different categories that you can have, and one could be super suspenseful period, or this isn't a period piece, but super suspenseful ghost movies or anything like that without blood. I mean, it can be done.
Yeah, 100%.
So as she's making a speedy exit, he asks if she's going horseback riding since she's dressed up in the gear, and she says she is, and then she invites him to come along. So we then get a lovely outdoor shot of them riding horses next to a lovely lake. This looks like out of a romance picture or something. It looks
It
beautiful.
does.
They then get off horseback and do a little walking in the woods, which reminds him of how much his daughter loved horses. He then has a flashback to the accident and he hears his daughter scream out, "Mommy!" So this guy has like PTSD and just grief and all that. So I feel really bad for him. This is where we see the next morning. It's 6 a.m. and we see John is in his bed weeping over his lost family. Again, he's interrupted by the loud banging sound echoing everywhere. Later, we see him with Mr. Tuttle in the basement looking at the furnace, banging on some pipes. Tuttle says there must be an airlock somewhere, but John is dubious, asking why would it start 2 days in a row at the same time and then go on for the same amount of time. I love Tuttle here because he's a bullshit artist, and I'm a bullshit artist, so I would say the same shit. He wants to be like, bitch, I don't know, but what he really says is, at least it's turning on. He says like a furnace is like anything else. It has habits. It's an old house. It makes noises. Like, okay, bitch, just say you don't
Right.
know and just leave it at that.
Bullshit excuse.
Yeah. So next, late one rainy night, we see that John is having a jam sesh with some students. Perhaps they're never really introduced. And as they all leave, John shuts off the lights, but behind him, we see another set of lights turn on. He turns around and hears moaning. He goes to investigate because, of course, he would. Like I would be like, I'm cool. I'm just gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
But he goes to investigate. Like, think about it. Like, if how quickly this movie ends if it's like me or you, or I don't know. You're put in this situation. What are you doing? Ghost starts reaching out to you. What, what are you actually believe in ghosts? So you'd be like, what are you gonna help the ghost?
I'm leaving. Like I don't, and it could be a good ghost. I'm truly sorry. I probably could have helped you, but I'm not taking chances. So I'm leaving. Like I don't play with stuff like that just because. Yeah, it just is something that I don't want to interact with. And and you know what? It's just like I would feel bad, Loki, because what if it is somebody that's like searching for help, like a spirit that's trying to like move on, but they need, help. You need to find their killer or whatever the case might be. But it's just like that's putting more stress on me, and I don't want to deal with all of that. Like I got bills to pay, I got a job to go to, I got dogs to feed, like I got a life to live. Now I got her find, help solve this missing person ghost. But I don't. It's just a lot. I ain't doing. I'm leaving. Bye. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you got me fucked up. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
I'm
doing that.
sorry.
Like you like I'm leaving my shit. I will have movers come
Mm-hmm.
and get everything. Like I don't believe in ghosts, but also I'm not stupid.
Right. Right.
So I could see when shit is happening around me. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not ghosts, but I don't want to fuck around and find out,
Right.
right? So
Exactly.
I'm bouncing.
Right. You don't have to believe in something to be, like you said, smart. Like if you hear some unexplained shit or just some weird stuff, you're not gonna go on like, who's there? Who is it? What is it? And just try to solve it or investigate. No, you bouncing. Nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
No.
So luckily for us, John actually does try to find out what it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a movie. Um, he goes to investigate it. He hears the sounds of laughter and water trickling. He finds the faucet running in the kitchen and turns it off, but he still hears laughter. He runs upstairs to investigate further and hears the faucet running up there as well. As he draws closer, he hears the faucet turn off, but it's above his head. So that was fucking creepy. Like he's walking
Yeah.
around and you literally hear like the faucet go like close, and he looks up and it's upstairs, and you're the only one in the
Yep.
house.
Again, bye. Nope. Nope.
Oh man, that is truly the atmosphere in this movie is just
Yeah,
excellent.
I
It's
love
just
it.
amazing,
It's great. And I wish more movies today utilize like their atmosphere. A lot of movies like is missing that. And that's what I look forward to when I watch movies is like atmosphere, obviously performance, music, because that actually sets the tone and scenes as well. But a lot of movies are missing that nowadays. And that's why I always find myself going back to movies like this back
Mhm.
old school movies and stuff because I like to be in that world. I want to put myself in that universe, that that world, that situation. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah. This movie is fully engrossing. Like
Hmm.
when you're in this movie, when you're watching this movie, at least I couldn't keep my eyes away from the screen. Like I had to take notes and I found it very hard. So I had to watch the movie twice. But yeah, it's so engrossing and you like you're there with them, which is
Yeah,
great.
I agree.
So again, he goes upstairs to investigate, and we're treated to an absolutely gorgeous shot of these stairs looking down towards him, lit in the shadows. And we see this shot a couple times throughout. And it's so funny because it's such a mundane, ordinary thing. Like stairs, a set of stairs. What is that? But the way that the director shoots it, and the director of photography, everybody that's involved, the lighting and all that, it looks so interesting. Like there's shadows where you think something could be, you know. So it's just great. As he ascends, we hear the creak of the wood, and the score here is brilliant. He continues to follow the sound of the water running to the bathroom. When he opens the door, he sees that the tub is half full of water, with the faucet going full on. So John turns the water off, and as he does so, he sees a body of a child appear in the tub, submerged with his eyes open. And the child looks up at John. John quickly backs away, horrified, but not much else of a reaction from him. The score ramps up here as John backs up into the camera, and we fade to black. Like
Freaked out.
he was just like,
I would have freaked
"Oh
out.
shit!"
Yeah, I would have freaked out. And again, if I didn't say note those other times, I would say note this time. Bye. This would have like
This,
solidified it. I'm out. While I'm seeing this like this weird ghostly kid in the fucking like tub. Like, what is this? What's going on? It reminded me of an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, but it wasn't like a kid in the tub. I forgot because I haven't seen this episode in a while, but I remember just seeing this ghostly kid in like the snow, and he kept saying like I'm cold or something like that, but he was like a ghostly figure. It reminded me of that just a little bit.
okay,
But yeah, I thought when I
yeah.
seen that scene, I thought about that show.
I love that show, by the way. I don't remember very much of it, but I used to love that show. But I would hope you'd have more of a reaction than just like a "oh shit" and then like backing away, you know. But this guy is like supposed to be really stoic, and so you know maybe that's what it is. But the next day, John meets with Claire and asks if something like this has happened before. Claire says she's only been with this society for a year, and the house hasn't been rented in that time. She then gets a call and has to leave, but another employee informs John that the house never should have been rented to him in the first place. Miss Norman rushed the papers through the lawyer's office. She did not use proper channels. She says, "That house is not fit to live in. No one's been able to live in it. It doesn't want people." And then so John says, "Oh, so there has been trouble in the house before." Then the woman just disappears like the plot device she is. So without
I'm
any
sorry.
further, you know, it's like okay. um, but but do you remember like Cabin in the Woods? Have you seen?
Yes.
So you know the
Hmm.
Harbinger. Like
Yes.
they're like, oh, they
Yes.
didn't listen to the Harbinger. Like she is the
Hmm.
Harbinger here, you know.
Yeah. True.
But he just like looking at her like, oh, okay. I'm like, no, John, you should maybe heed her advice and just go somewhere else. Like
Yeah.
this isn't
Exactly.
like it's not like your family's living here and your work needs you to stay here or whatever. Like
Right.
you literally have no connection to this house other than a piano, but that piano's not even yours. You can, you know, just why even chance it?
Yeah. Just go
Yeah,
bounce. But maybe since he's lonely now and he just nothing phases him anymore, he just like, look, I lost my kid and my wife. Like I it is what it is, you know what I
yeah,
mean? I got nothing else better to do. So yeah, let's go on this adventure.
yeah,
You know, maybe that's what's in his head. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. He's like, I need to feel something again, you know?
Yeah, and that's his excitement. So
Later, John is leaving the mansion when he hears glass shattering, and we as the audience see the glass shattered from inside going out. And he notices the glass on the floor and that it's red in nature. He looks around the front of the house but doesn't see a window with red glass. But until he looks at the very top and notices a small window with a red glass panel that's missing. So then he goes back inside to investigate and goes to the top of the floor. And the music here is really creepy. I really love this. He finds a door at the end of a hallway and he feels like there's like a room missing. But when he opens that door, he turns on the light. It's just a closet. But then as he goes to leave, he hears wind rustling from behind the boards of the closet. And he's like, oh shit, okay. There's something back there. So
right.
then he just tears down those boards and the shelving and just like tears it all down and he finds a doorway. And I'm thinking, John, the historical society, you put a down payment on here first month, last month, you know?
Right.
But he got money like that. He don't care. He don't care
Yeah,
about his
he don't
security
care.
deposit.
Nope.
It's fucking bananas. No respect for people's things.
He like I can put it back up. I can just get a nail and hammer. It's fine.
Yeah, 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 no worries. I'll have Tuttle to
Right.
fix it. So then he sees a doorknob with a huge steel lock around it. So he takes a hammer and starts pounding away until the sound of his hits matches the pounding that he's heard in the morning. And then here we hear it again. And that's such a great idea to tie the two together.
Yeah.
It's so
I was thinking it.
yeah,
I
it's
was
so
thinking it when I
good.
was watching. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, and it's so loud that he has to cover his ears.
Yeah.
Finally, it's too loud. It's not stopping. He just goes at the lock and breaks it. And once he breaks it, the pounding stops. So he smashes down the door with his shoulder and finds a staircase covered in spider webs. Once he ascends the stairs, there's a door ajar, which he creakily opens and finds a very small room with a wheelchair, a bed, a small writing desk, and some other ephemera, all of which is absolutely covered in layers and layers of dirt, dust, and cobwebs. I love the set dressing for this piece, like what they did here. It looks so good.
Yeah, it's very creepy and just you can literally tell that that room haven't been touched since you don't even know when because it's literally like you said it's just coated with cobwebs and dirt and just shit just around and just it looks great. I wonder what they actually used like to make to make the room look like that.
Right? Like I always wonder because like a real cobweb, it's nasty to touch. You know, you're like, oh, it doesn't ever get anywhere. And then
Yeah,
I'll buy like the cotton stuff for Halloween to decorate, and
yeah,
I
the
could never
stretchy
make it
shit.
look like that look. So I don't know what the hell they use.
Nope. My, every year I try to make it look and it look profesh and it just never does. It looks
Yeah.
raggedy and I just like let it look ghetto. That's just the way.
That's how it is, man.
Right.
So John picks up a diary labeled CSB 1909. Then he puts it back down. We also see some tin soldiers and a small music box, which he opens up, and immediately it starts playing a wonderful tune.
A familiar tune.
Yeah, but we'll see. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it
Yeah.
until he starts talking about it because, like I said, I'm not a musical person. But later, he has taken the music box downstairs with him, and he's playing it for Claire. Apparently, the music from the music box is the same music that he's been composing. So Claire states it's a startling coincidence, but the melody must have been popular for it to be in the music box. John agrees, but states that he's never heard of the song. Claire says that she went back to the files back to 1920 and there are no instances of anything happening. He states the woman at the society was wrong. The house does want people. Everything it's done has been to get him into the attic. Claire asks to see the room, and John takes her up there at night in a rainstorm with like thunder. It's like this could wait till the morning.
Nah, we're gonna do this right now where it's the creepiest.
Yeah, right,
It's
right
the
now.
best way. Right.
I bet you it was like 6 o'clock. He's like, let's wait like
Let's
six
wait like 2 more
hours.
hours.
Yeah,
Right. The sun go down and yeah.
it gets hot up there, you know?
Yeah.
So Claire notices how small the wheelchair is. And so now you think that's probably for a child.
A child, yeah.
After they leave, the camera focuses on the wheelchair and then the wind kicks up and then we hear noise, but I didn't actually see anything happen. I don't know if you noticed anything happening there, but I didn't.
Mm-mm, I haven't either.
Okay. So then we see John and Claire at the Historical Society looking at records. He says that William and Sarah Chino and family bought it in 65 and sold it in 67. Then the Historical Society bought it in 1967 with a generous donation from the Carmichael Foundation, as in Senator Carmichael. So then they ask Minnie for the files on the Chessman House pre 1920. She says, "What do you want to know?" And I'm like, "Okay, Minnie's acting. Minnie is the harbinger, right?" So
Yeah.
she says it was owned by a man named Bernard, a doctor who had a son and a daughter, and some kind of family tragedy happened, and he sold the house in 1909. They then go to the library and we see microfiche. Like we never see microfiche in movies anymore. Like I don't,
No.
I love it. I love it. It's so cool. I used to use microfiche at school, so like I'm full.
Really?
Yeah, like I went to a Catholic school that had, they didn't have a lot of money for like computers. I think we got. I went for 8 years, and I got my first computer. I mean, they got their first computer like in eighth grade. So before that, it was all microfiche. you know. So like we would like look up articles and stuff like that. It was kind of cool. I mean, it's
That is cool.
completely
No, no, that is cool. I forgot what movie I was watching that they were using it. And I was just like, I wonder, like, I never use anything like that. And I feel like that would be pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure it's obviously not as fast as what we got today,
oh
but it's
yeah.
still something pretty cool to use.
It's like archaic technology. It's literally just a picture of the newspaper that you put up to a projector, and then you're scrolling. You're scrolling through it. That's all you're doing. It's awesome. I just love to see it. So then they learned that Cora S. Bernard, CSB, like we saw on the diary in the attic, was killed in a coal car accident. They then go to the cemetery and see that the family plot of land, it was a husband, wife, daughter, and brother. John makes a connection to both girls being killed in the street. So his daughter and Cora being
Was
killed
killed
in an
similar.
accident in the street. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this is kind of a red herring because that's not. We'll find out later, but that's not who the ghost is. Um,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because and that's what I like about this because I'm just like, all right, so maybe this is the ghost that's, in the house that's trying to, get John's attention or whatever because I mean, this is a mystery, you know what I mean? You're trying to sit here and solve what the hell is going on. So I'm just like, all right, so I want to know what this connection is, but then when we get there we find out what the real situation is, but I was with you. I was just like, oh, I thought there was a connection with Cora and you know, and related to his daughter's death and wife's death.
right. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of like thrown for a loop there. Like they were having you go one way, and then when you find out you actually go another way, you're like, oh shit, that's cool. And that happens a couple times where there's some misdirection, and I'll bring it up when we get there. But so John wonders why the house is trying to reach out to him, and Claire tells him, hey, John, you have to get out of the house. And I'm like, finally, someone who's smart. But of course, John
Someone
doesn't
with
listen.
sense.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, leave.
So later at night, John is at his desk reading when he hears a noise as if something is coming down the stairs. Then we see that it's Kathy's red and white bouncy ball. He goes to the bottom of the stairs and picks it up. He then goes to his wooden chest to see if the ball is still in there, and it isn't. So this is fucked up. Like the ghost. I don't think he's fully. He doesn't fully believe that it's a ghost, but the ghost is fucking with him now.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Scary Movie?
Oh yeah, of course.
So I don't know which one it is, Scary Movie one or two, but they have a scene in there with the ball bouncing down the stairs, and,
I think that's part two because that's when they were all in that like hunted like
and
mansion or whatever.
yeah, the haunted house.
I
Okay,
think it's that one.
I think you're right too. And I was always wondering because I hadn't seen The Haunting back when I saw Scary Movie two, so I was always wondering where that came from. And it's so cool that this is where that's from, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So then John's like, "All right, you want to fuck around? Let's figure this out." So John takes the ball, drives out to a bridge, and drops the ball into the water below. We hear it and we see it hit the water. Then John arrives home, and after a short time, he hears a ghostly giggling, as described in
Mm-hmm.
the captions, which I wanted to tell you. And then we see that same ball bouncing down the stairs.
Down the steps again. Right there, I was like, oh, hell no. If I didn't say nope again to before, I'm saying nope now this time.
Like Jordan Peele, like is a genius with that name for his next movie. Nope,
Yeah.
because that's what we always say in every scary movie. Nope, nope,
Nope.
and that's what
Nope.
you're saying.
Right. Even little, and I say this all the time, even little Julian from Halloween 2018, when he seen his babysitter Vicky getting got by Michael Myers, he ran up them steps and seen Michael and he said, nope, and
Nope.
ran right down them steps.
Yes, I love that kid.
So yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, that scene got to me. I'm just like, he threw the ball into the damn like the water. He goes home and then here it go again.
Yeah,
Coming
yeah,
down the
it's
steps. And I'm just like, all right, so the ghost is really fucking with me this time.
yeah. And again, pack your shit and get the fuck out.
Y-
You
Get out. Right. But no, John likes this shit, I think.
know.
So
So the next day, he's speaking with someone in a psychic research department at the college he works at, which I love that there just happens to be a psychic research department at a college. I don't know. I didn't go to college for very long. Maybe every college has a psychic research department. I don't know.
I doubt it, but maybe it was different back then. Maybe it
Yeah,
was required.
yeah. So there's this movie. There's this zombie. It's like a black exploitation zombie movie called Sugar Hill.
I
Have you ever
love
seen it?
Sugar Hill.
Oh my god,
Yes.
Sugar Hill's amazing. But they actually
So
have.
good.
Do you remember? There's like a scene. I think it's in the beginning where it's like zombie research center. It's like
Yeah.
what? Why is there a zombie research center? But I always think about that movie. So when I see something like this, I'm like, yeah, zombie research center.
Yes, I love that's so funny. I seen Sugar Hill for the first time last year actually. I kept hearing people talk about it and I was like, let me check this movie out and like I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with that movie.
It's a great movie. I love it.
Yeah.
So, so he's talking to the guy from the psychic research department. The man there says that they have some mediums coming in, and he says like 99% of them are bullshit artists, but they vet them all, and that 1% are actually legit. So he seems to be suggesting to John that he should get a medium from like he would recommend a medium. So at night, we see that an older man and woman have arrived at the mansion and are setting up for a séance. John asks to record the séance, which they agree to. They ask to turn some lights off as the woman walks around the house a bit. Claire and her mother are there as well. I don't know why her mom's there, but I feel like Claire's an older woman. Maybe she's not married, and so she just
Right.
her mom's her road dog. They go
Yeah.
everywhere together,
Just
which
tag along. Why
I like
not?
that.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I would do the same thing. Like if I, because like me and my mom, we're cool. Like we're not like super tight or whatever. But I feel like if I was just like lonely or wasn't dating anybody, I feel like I would drag my mom along with me in a lot of my adventures.
Hell yeah. And moms are cool like that. They'll be like, yeah, sure, I just want to
Oh
spend
yeah,
time with my son.
right. Whether if you're going to get possessed by a demon or not, let's go. Let's have fun.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure she didn't tell her mom, yo, we're going to a seance, or like we're going to my friend's house. So she's like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
So she shows up to a fucking seance. So they brought some sort of electronic feedback machine, but we don't really get to know what that's for. But meanwhile, the wife or the medium opens the closet door and looks up, but she does not go in. The shot of is looking down at her, which they always. I take that to mean that whenever we see a shot from upstairs looking down at somebody, that's the ghost looking down at the
Yeah, like
person.
a point of view shot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And which was great back then as well. They used that a lot back in the day in horror movies, and I think it was super effective.
Yeah, because they didn't
Again,
have that CGI to be
right.
able to do all that thing, so they just had to use what they had, and it's just shots of point of view, like you're saying.
Halloween, Black
Yeah,
Christmas.
there you
There
go.
we go.
So next, we're around the table for a séance. She says, "You've suffered. You've lost a wife and a child. The presence in the house is reaching out to you through that loss." She says it's a very strong presence, a child who is not at peace, a child who can't rest. The whole time she's talking, she's looking at John, like making contact, but she's scribbling furiously with a pencil on multiple sheets of paper. This was creepy, the way she was just like
Yeah.
asking questions and just scribbling furiously.
Very aggressive,
Yeah,
but I mean, I get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
you know,
She's like, I'm
I,
like, watch
I,
your tone, watch your tone.
right. It's funny because I instantly thought about the scene in Insidious with what's her name? Have you seen Insidious before?
I have, but I've only seen it once. I don't.
Oh, okay. What was her name? The Len Shay.
Lin Shay.
She was
Okay,
in a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of,
yeah.
yeah, and when she was doing like the whole demon thing or whatever, and she was doing like weird situations, like doing weird stuff. It reminded me of that scene when they were having like a little mini seance to see what was going on. So it was
Yeah,
pretty funny, but this one was a little bit more aggressive because that paper and just help and just the
yeah,
scribbling and the ripping of the, it was just a lot. Too
yeah.
much for me.
So as she's talking, we see the door upstairs open, and the camera seems to walk down the stairs. So another point of view as the ghost. The medium says that the ghost is there with them and asks if it will communicate with them. She says, "Will you speak to us? We are here to help you." She asks, "What is your name?" Again, "Will you speak to us?" This time she scribbles "yes" in big sloppy letters, and then her husband repeats or her partner, whatever he is, repeats whenever she writes something else. So she writes down yes. He says yes. She asks, "Are you the child Cora that was killed by the coal cart?" No. This is where like, oh shit, it's not who we thought it was. So
Mm-hmm.
what is your name? And he says Joseph. And she says, "Did you die in this house? How did you die, Joseph?" And she says, "Is there someone here you wish to communicate with?" And it says, "John." And it says, "Help, help, help, John." Then the medium finishes. That was creepy, just like help, 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 you know?
Yeah. And you actually hear like the like. Wait, was this the part when you actually can hear it or
No, he
no?
goes
Because
back to listen to his
he goes.
recording.
Yeah, that's right. He goes
Yeah,
back in the recording. Like, yeah, yeah, he does go
yeah.
back. I forgot about that. Because you hear the feints of the answers every time they would ask the questions. Okay, that was. Have you ever done a seance or anything like that before?
No, I've
Or
never done a seance. I've
okay,
never had my palms read. I've never had my fortune told. None of that stuff. I'm not against it. It just it's never come up, and I haven't seeked it out. Have you?
yeah, no.
No.
Mm-mm. People like you love horror movies. Like, why don't you do? I was just like, cause I'm not stupid. Here we go again. Me, like, I don't do. I'm not messing with things. Again, I believe in spirits. I believe in things other than this world that we're in right now. I don't want to connect with that side right now, at least, and
Uh-huh.
I don't want to bring back something negative, because I already have enough negativity going around in this world, and I don't want to deal with that on top of other bullshit. So, I'm not doing the whole palm reading. I'm not doing the Ouija boards. I'm not doing seances. Now, when I was younger, I used to try to do it. Like, I tried to make my own Ouija board, because I was too scared to actually buy one. So I actually like tried to make one with my cousin. It never worked, but it
You
was
don't know. Maybe you
interesting.
brought something back.
Probably. Maybe that's why all that crazy shit was happening to me that I told you in the beginning of this episode. Now it's starting to all come together.
Oh fuck, Bobby! You brought something back, dude. Well, no, I gotta go. I'm not fucking with you, bro. You're haunted. You haunted, dude. Nah, bye.
I promise I'm good.
Oh,
Bobby,
shit.
oh my
I gotta,
gosh.
dude. I gotta burn some fucking incense
Sage.
after. Yeah, some sage after you leave.
Palo Santo, sage, all that stuff. It work. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
Open up the windows. When I first moved into this house, my grandmother, because my grandmother, she's Puerto Rican, my mom is half. So they grew up in a very spiritual household.
Mm,
And as soon as I moved into this place, they came right over. They had their Palo Santo, they had their sage. This was like, Robert, that's my real name. Open up all
right.
the windows and then go in every corner, every section of the house, just going in. They're like, you never knew what energy was in here before. So we want to get rid of it before you settle into this new place. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So,
There you go. Yeah, my
yeah.
mom's. I'm half Puerto Rican. My mom's Puerto Rican too.
Mhm.
So I feel she was spiritual earlier on in her life, but she used to practice Santeria. So
Okay.
I got
Wait, what
you.
is that?
What's that?
Yeah, what is that?
Santeria?
I never. Yeah,
Oh, Santeria is like Christianity mixed with witchcraft.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
like cutting the heads off of roosters and using the
Woo!
blood for yeah, it's shit like that. You know,
Okay.
it's in the Caribbean life, like Puerto Rican
Yeah.
and Dominican Republic and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. Even in Cuba, that deep Santeria shit. I went with my wife 2 3 years ago. We
Mm-hmm.
visited Cuba and we met. So we're at there's the old fort in San Juan where every night they shoot off cannonballs. They blast them out. And not San Juan. I'm sorry. Where was it? Havana. Sorry, Havana, in Cuba, obviously. And we after we got there, we took a taxi there, and on our way back, we had to get another taxi. And this dude was dressed in all white, and I was like, "Oh, nice, in Spanish. Oh, nice to meet you." And I went to shake his hand. He's like, I don't shake hands. I am learning to become a priest in the Santeria, and I can't touch anybody else for like a year or something like that. So he's dressed in all white and all that. And he was explaining to us all about Santeria, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we don't like we're good. We don't seek out evil and negativity, but we can do this shit if we need to." I'm like, cool.
I'm here for that.
I gave him
Okay.
all the tip in the world. I was like, bro, just take it.
Yes. Okay. I learned something new. Okay. I didn't know there was like a name for that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so my mom used to practice that, but she stopped that when she was pretty early, pretty young.
Okay.
So now we're gonna have to bless some sage real quick, and then or
Yes.
burn some
I'll
sage.
be back. I'm gonna get some real quick. I'm
Yeah, exactly. All right, so they then turn off the lights and ask the ghost if it will speak to John. We then see the camera descending the steps, and there's this gorgeous crystal candelabra, and it's lit up with all the lights, and it looks magical. It looks absolutely beautiful. And then the ghost is coming down to talk to John, and she asks, "Will you tell us why you are not at rest?" It passes by the candelabra, and we hear a ghostly moaning as it does. And it says, "What do you want of John? Why do you feel no peace? Why do you remain in this house?" And then there's this gray metal cone shaped object on the wall that starts shaking. And the more the medium asks, and then
hmm
so do you? Before what happens, I just want to ask you: did you know what that was supposed to be? Because I was really confused
No.
at that.
Yeah.
No,
Same here. I didn't know what that was.
okay.
I was confused. I was like, well, maybe. Like I was thinking, like it's obviously an object that the spirit can connect to, and that's their way of communicating with this thing. But I didn't know what it exactly was.
Because I've seen a lot of haunted house movies, and I feel like that's the only instance
Yeah.
of that I've seen. You know.
Same.
So as the ghost is getting closer, it's wobbling more, and then they ask again, "How did you die? Did you die in this house?" And then Claire's mom, I don't know if you saw her, but she looks petrified. She's like, "Oh shit, what am I doing here?"
Maybe I shouldn't agree to this
Yeah,
seance.
right. She's like, "My daughter ain't shit, yo. What the fuck?"
Right. I'm never hanging with her again.
Nah. So then suddenly a glass that was on the table is violently ejected from the table across the room at the wall and shatters into a million pieces. And we know that it's a million pieces because there's this beautiful slow motion shot we get of it shattering. And I love how they're throwing you off with this. Again, this is misdirection where there's this metal cone and you think it's going to tip over, it's going to do something, but it's actually the glass that was just to the right of it that goes, shattered and all that. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
So then we see the door to the attic shut by itself. So the ghost is like, "Fuck this, I'm done." You know. So later, after the seance, John is by himself, and this is where, like you're saying, he turns on the recorder and he's listening back to the seance, and he starts rewinding it, and he starts to hear everywhere that the medium was answering for the ghost. We actually hear the ghostly voice saying those answers. So the recorder. So it says, "Were you the child picked up, killed by the coal cart?" And the medium wrote no. The husband verbally stated no, but the recorder also picked up a ghostly voice saying no, and it's
hmm
creepy as all get out. I love that.
Yeah.
So John doubts himself for a second. He rewinds it and hears it again, and definitely he heard it this time. So he's
Yep.
spooked. He hears the ghost also answer that his name is Joseph, and rewinds it multiple times. Like he's like, "Am I fucking tripping?" Because I don't know how I'd feel. Like I think I'd feel the same way. Like if right now, when I'm editing this podcast, and when you were talking about bringing shit in, I hear some ghost in the background talking like, "Yo, Bobby, we got you, bro." Like, fuck. I'm editing that out, dude.
No, I would too. Shit, that's creepy. I mean, I would never, and like unknowingly, that's out of my control. So I'm sorry in
Yeah.
advance, but
Yeah.
um,
So
yeah, I would do the same
yeah.
thing.
So the medium asked if he died in the house. The ghost responded house. Then he says my room and can't walk. And so I was thinking some reason when you're a ghost you can't do complete sentences, which is okay, fine. Maybe it hurts to
Yeah, I
talk.
noticed that. Like even when I watch like those like ghost hunter shows, like on the Travel Channel or whatever, like you when they apparently like pick up like these apparitions on their device or whatever, it's never like a full on sentence. It's always just like here, now, away, far. Like it's just like y'all can't do sentences. Like what's going on? Like it's just like broken sentences. It's really weird.
It reminded me of the Return of the Living Dead, that half corpse talking, being like, "It hurts to be dead."
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's like that shit. So
What she say? oh yeah, she's like it makes the pain go away.
Yeah. So at least she's speaking in more sentences than Joseph.
Right.
Joseph is.
Just saying, and she had a
Yeah.
half a body.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
mm.
That's probably what it is. The more body you have, the more sentence you can do. Right.
And I guess you're a ghost. So I guess it's hard to form words.
There you go. There you
I don't know.
go. So then, but it does sound like a child now, whereas before it just sounded like a ghost. Now it's actually sounding like a child. The medium asks why you are not at rest, and the ghost, crying now, says, "My father." And then, "Did you die in this room?" And then it says, "My room." And again, nobody heard this. This is only being picked up by the audio, which is great. Again, asks, "How did you die?" And he says, "Father, father, the well, ranch, took the dark, my metal, father." And he's sobbing again. So while hearing this, the camera is quickly going around the banister, up and up the stairs to the attic. We see the room looking brand new, and we see a man enter the room. The child sitting in a tub of water. This scene was hard. This scene was hard to watch. It's hard
Yeah,
to describe.
same. Yeah,
But the child, presumably Joseph, is naked except for a gold necklace with a medal of some sort. The father is looking down at the child and then suddenly grabs his feet and pulls him under the water. The boy tries to fight back, but his legs are paralyzed. And in the tussle, the music box is knocked open and starts playing the tune that John has been working on, and obviously that we heard earlier. As he's fighting back, he slams his fist into the side of the tub, making the sound that John has been hearing throughout the house, that horrible banging. Eventually, the child stops fighting, and he has drowned. His eyes are open underwater. And that's the image that John saw in the bathtub earlier.
yeah.
Then the boy says, "Body, wet," and the well. The father walks away from Joseph's lifeless body. Then the ghost whispers, "My name, Joseph Carmichael." And then the recording has ended. Like, I gotta say, like, he is being really helpful here. Like,
Oh
he's
yeah.
giving up all, he's spilling all the tea. It's great.
Oh, you took the words right out my mouth. I said he's spilling all the tea,
Yeah. It's
as you
great
should.
because I actually saw, like I was saying, The Ring, which
Hmm.
is a fairly similar plot line to this.
Also, have you ever seen Stir of Echoes with
I
Kevin
was,
Bacon?
oh man, I was gonna say Stir of Echoes. It's, yes, Stir of
Similar.
Echoes, so
Yeah,
good.
Stir Echoes is so good, and I watched that recently. And I seen this one. I seen that movie when I was a kid, and I was scared of that movie because of a lot of scenes in there. But now watching it as an adult, like it hit me a different way. But there's a lot of similarities here because these ghosts try to use the event of their death. They trying to get these people to help them by using like music and noises and just things like that to lead them like, all right, I need you to find like my body, my corpse in order to solve what's going on and do the right thing. So this definitely remind me of Stir of Echoes, even though this came out obviously before.
Right, right. The
So it's
Stir
a
of
lot of
Echoes,
similarity there.
yeah, I would say Stir of Echoes was influenced by this
Yeah.
movie a lot, as well as The Ring. I love
Oh
that you
yeah.
said Stir of Echoes. Not enough people talk about Stir of Echoes.
Yeah, it's
Another movie that I find people don't talk enough about, but it's not connected to this movie in any way. But I always put the two together because I think they came around the same time. Was Stigmata?
yes, okay.
Have you ever seen
I haven't seen
Stigmata?
that movie in a while, but I
Oh, okay.
love Patricia Arquette,
Oh yeah,
and
she's a
I know
queen.
Nia Long was in it, and that was a weird movie for Nia Long to do because I was like, Nia Long is in this movie, but
Yeah,
okay.
I
But
forgot
that
she was in
movie,
it. Yeah, I guess
yeah,
yeah.
she played like her friend.
Okay.
And I remember watching that as a kid too, and I didn't quite understand what was going on because I was ready to see like some crazy shit happen and crazy stuff was happening, but I just couldn't put things together back then. But now as an adult, I really really enjoy that movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. So John is looking at the paper. The medium scribbled all those words onto. He's extremely taken aback. He goes to his office, out of breath, and calls and makes a call to Claire. As she picks up, he asks her to come, but then he passes out before he can finish the sentence. Later, we hear the ghostly answers again, but this time they're being heard by Claire, and John is resting in his office. Claire, sobbing, walks to his office, and John apologizes for calling her as she's really upset. And he wrote while he had the flashback of the murder. He wrote down on a piece of paper "Sacred Heart." And Claire, he said he didn't know what that was. And Claire says that that was an old county orphanage, but it's been closed down. But it closed down years ago. John then has it figured out. He says the child, Joseph Carmichael, was killed in this house in the attic. Then another child from an orphanage was. But before he can finish his thought, Claire, in hysteria, yells at him to stop for just a minute because she can't take it. She's scared. She walks over to the stairs and
Can I
is.
say real quick?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt
no,
you,
good.
but when she was like spazzing out like that, I was just like, all right, is she connected to something now? Because it seemed like, even though it was a lot to digest, usually in movies when they react that way, they don't want to hear it because they're involved in some situation related to what was like what they just heard. So when I was watching, it's like I got my eye on you because maybe you have something going on with this, but I was completely wrong. It was just that she literally was tired of hearing this shit. So
Yeah, and I wonder if just like John saw the vision of the murder, maybe she also saw the vision of the murder, and maybe she was
yeah,
so affected like that, just like he was
right.
affected. Yeah, but I get you. I always got an eye on people like when they're like, no, 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 stop, you know. So she walks over to the stairs, and then all of a sudden she's frozen by what she sees. John, seeing her being frozen, walks over to her and looks up to see Joseph's wheelchair still covered in the cobwebs at the top of the stairs, and it's kind of creaking and moving a little bit. So that was creepy. But I wanted to ask you, did you notice that when she was yelling at him to stop talking, she yelled out, "Stop, George!" Not "Stop, John," which is the character's name, but "Stop, George," which is the actor's name.
I haven't she she I haven't called that.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Wow.
It was really quick, but I was reading trivia and it was like, yeah, she actually calls the character, the actor's name, not the character's name. So I went back
Yeah.
and you can hear it. I was like, oh shit, that's
That's
not
how you know
that's the
she was
edit.
really feeling it.
Yeah, yeah, that was the editor's fault. But like,
Yeah.
you can't be mad at her because like that's her husband, you know,
Yeah,
like she's
and that
always
doesn't
seeing
help
it.
too, because
Yeah,
she's always seeing him. That's like you and your wife, you know, y'all obviously like live together and stuff like that, and y'all work together. She's gonna make some mistakes and probably call you by your real name because I mean you're in the moment. Maybe she yelled at you a few times before in the heat of the moment, and when you're acting, it probably was just some, you know, she probably couldn't help it. So
yeah,
wow, I didn't catch that.
it was pretty
But that
fun.
is the editor's fault, and it's also if they had a script supervisor, because sometimes movies have script supervisors where they have somebody on the side as they're doing their lines to make sure that they're saying the right thing or close to
Yeah,
the right thing. So they could have just been like, "You say his real name, bro." Like,
yeah. I, so next, John is out in the world following Senator Joseph Carmichael into what is we see the sign on the building, the Carmichael Tower. It's like, oh shit. So not only is he a senator and all the power that comes from that, but he's also, you know, extremely wealthy, you know. So he's going to be a formidable foe.
he got
So
money.
he got money. So as Joseph walks into his office, his secretary tells him that a Miss Huxley from the Historical Society has called 3 times already, saying it's very important. So he speaks to her, and she tells him, and it's the Minnie, Minnie from earlier in the movie, and she tells him that John and Claire have been going through the files, and he's like, oh, okay. He takes down their names. Later, John and Claire are at lunch, and John is going over the story as they know it now. The real Joseph Carmichael, was murdered by his father, Richard, back in 1906 when Joseph was 6 years old. He was a crippled, sickly child, and as we learn later on, in the event of his death before his 21st birthday, the family fortune, which he's inheriting from his late maternal grandfather, would pass to charity. So the father, Richard, is like, fuck that. I need that money. So he's desperate to keep control of the fortune. Joseph's father drowns young Joseph in the bathtub, secretly replacing him with a healthy orphan or a changeling. Then
Yeah,
he took that
that was
change.
crazy.
Yeah, he takes that changeling, that orphan, to Europe in the guise of seeking a treatment or a cure for the real Joseph being handicapped. So Richard, because of World War I breaking out and all that stuff, Richard has to stay. They have to stay in Europe, until after the war. So he returned several years later with the imposter Joseph, who's now 18 years old and quote unquote cured of his illness. Then they inherit the vast fortune and continue as if nothing had happened. Like, holy shit, that's such a great story, and
Right.
also so terrible. It's
Yeah. It's horrible.
it's horrible.
It's just like who, like you kill your real kid, and then obviously you're money hungry because you want this fortune or whatever, keep it in the family, blah blah blah, and then you go to the orphanage to adopt a child and claim that's your kid, and then send them. It just and then make it, it just this father was a piece of shit. He was horrible.
Yeah,
He was fucked up, and whoever, and this story though is super super like creative because I wouldn't have never thought of anything like this. You could definitely tell that they put a lot of thought into this because I would have never think of anything like this. So um my mouth was open though at that part. I was just like, wow, that's what really happened. Okay. So like I said at the beginning of this episode, I thought it was gonna be some damn like creature or whatever the case might be. But this is actually better. I like this. I'm just like, okay. Um this is more fucked up. I could actually see people doing this in real life. I mean, if
yeah,
I mean, granted, we got technology and social media now, so it's gonna be a lot harder compared to when this came out. But I can still see this happening, opposed to some creature changing bodies with a child. So,
yeah. I mean, people act funny for the money, man. So
yeah.
I agree. It definitely could have happened.
But damn, your own kid. I mean, that's
Yeah,
wild.
it's cold blooded. It's cold blooded.
Yeah.
So John's investigation leads him to a property that was once owned by the Carmichael family, where they have built houses on that land, including over an old well. So, as Joseph said on the tape, that he said something about a well. So John visits the house but finds no one there. But he does go. He goes to get Claire. Then they actually make a call to the owner, and she invites him to come back. And so they come back, and he explains that what they want. Mrs. Gray says that she wouldn't have let him in, except on the same night as John's seance, which was 3 days prior, his daughter had a nightmare and woke up sobbing and said she'd seen a boy, a very small, very thin boy, and he was trying to come up through the floor. So, what John and Claire want to do is break down the door. I'm sorry, break down the floor because they believe there's a well there.
The well,
Yeah,
the ring.
exactly. Exactly. I think this is a little too spot on here. I feel like the director or the writer is like, okay, we need them to get into that well very quickly. The movie's already an hour 46. Like we
Yeah.
can't have this lady like put up too much resistance or whatever.
Yeah.
So we need to be like, yeah, that child saw something too. Because now if you think about it, like Joseph's putting in work. He's haunting the house over there, but he's working remote over here as well, like haunting this little girl
See, and this
too.
is where I got confused. And now that I'm talking to you about it, I don't have those same questions anymore. Because, like in the beginning, I'm just like, usually when ghosts, when they die, they hunt that area that they died in. You know what I mean? But like you said, he's putting in work, and so my question is, so his father put his body into that location in the well after he killed him in that other place in
Yeah,
their actual home. Okay, so that's what happened. So even though he died in their home, he still can go to this area where his body's actually located. Okay, I guess that makes sense. That's
yeah,
fine.
because I guess he had the traumatic experience in the house, but
Yeah,
his body
body is
is in the
on that
well.
property. Yeah.
Yeah, so then that's
Okay.
like he's haunting two places. You know,
Okay.
he's able to multitask.
Oh, that's fine. We need more ghosts like that. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, exactly. So Mrs. Gray says she'll have to think about it since essentially he just wants to destroy their room. Like if he said, you know what, I'm gonna dig up this floor, but I'll pay to get it nice. We're gonna put in nice stuff here. It's gonna be look great. Then I'd be like, okay, but he doesn't say that.
Right.
So she's like, let me think about it. So
Yeah.
later that night, Mrs. Gray's daughter, she's sleeping with Mrs. Gray in her room because she's had that terrible nightmare and she doesn't want to sleep in her room anymore. Um, she starts kind of like sleepwalking, and she's walking back into her room, and she's like, there's these tears falling down her eyes. Like you can tell, like she almost doesn't want to do this, but she's like being possessed in order to do it, and it's just a great. I just love the scene. It's so good.
Yeah. It was a great visual and performance. I felt like, and usually I don't really care for kid actors like that, regardless of what they do.
Same,
But for
same.
her, I think she did a great job, especially like as she's walking. And even though she's not visibly crying, she has tears
Right.
coming down. And it's like you said, she's being forced to go to the spot. She's being dragged unwillingly to this area, like she is possessed. So I think that was a great scene right there and how they like utilized it.
I agree. I agree with the kid actors. Fuck them kids. I don't normally like them, but
Yeah.
she did a good job here, and she did a good job because she didn't talk.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's because kids can't act
Right.
or all that stuff, you know. So she didn't talk. It was just
Yeah.
visual. It was great. So
Yep. They should do that more often with kids. Don't say nothing, just
just enough.
expressions.
Exactly.
That's it.
So she walks in, and we hear creaking as the floor gives way, and she sees the floating body of Joseph looking up at her, and she screams and screams, and her mom comes in and turns on the light, and the floor is still there. So that was great too. It's like it was all a dream, but because of what her daughter said, putting that together with what John and Claire said earlier, the woman, Mrs. Gray, was like, "All right, y'all can come dig this body up and get it out of my house," you know.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired of this little girl sleeping in my bed. Let's get this shit over with. Come
For real,
on.
I'm supposed to have friends coming over, and she's fucking with
Yeah.
it. So they all got friends.
Right.
So next we see John tearing into the floors with a chainsaw, and they haven't found anything yet as they dig dirt out of the well. Again, very reminiscent. I mean, almost. No, I wouldn't say shot for shot, but exactly like The Ring. You know, which is
Oh
great.
yeah. I was thinking
Uh,
that as I was watching, I was like, "Oh, this is like the ring. This is dope."
yeah. So John finally, after a while, with the help of Mrs. Gray's son, finds the skeletal remains of a hand, and Mrs. Gray immediately says, "Okay, I'll call the police." So the police finished digging out the remains and said that they've probably been down there for 50 years. They asked John if he knows who the body is, and he says, "No, not really." Then they ask, "What does that mean?" Then he smiles and
Yeah, they
says,
was like,
"No."
"Really?" And he was just like, "No." He had to
Yeah,
change it
like
up real quick.
he couldn't help himself. He was being coy. It's like
Yeah.
now's not the time to be coy when there's a dead body and you can't explain how you know it was there.
I had a vision.
Yeah, exactly. So Claire says you should have told him, but he says he didn't find the medal yet. He says he has to find it to kind of for the nail in the coffin, so to speak. So John breaks into. So later on, the police ask if Mrs. Gray has somewhere to sleep for the night. She says she does. She's going to sleep with some friends.
Yeah, she's like, "I already got it sorted out." I'm like, "Damn, she wasn't playing no games. She already called friends." She's like, "Fuck this.
That's
I'm
the
staying
type
with you
of
tonight,
energy we
Daddy."
on. That's the type of energy we on, Bobby.
Yes.
Later on that night, yeah, John goes and now breaks into the house and he goes back and down into the well to look for the metal, but he doesn't find anything until the metal slowly rises out of the dirt by itself. That was real cool, like how they did that. I can
Yeah.
imagine. I don't know how they did it, but I can imagine how they might have done it, where they shot
Reversal
it.
effect.
Yeah, reversal effect. It's so I
hmm
love that type of stuff. You know,
Yeah. Again, movie magic.
movie magic. Yeah.
But how? Wait. So like, so how would they do it? Like, would they have like the necklace in the dirt already and maybe tie a string around it, or I don't know because how it was coming out in this like it was being pushed out. I don't know how they. I know it's a reversal effect, but I'm curious to know how they actually done it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, I'm
I
thinking too hard.
yeah. I might get this movie on Blu-ray, and there might be some special features on
Yeah,
that, so I'm gonna check that out because I
yeah,
love that sort of stuff.
that's a good idea.
So John picks up the medallion. Later, John goes to Claire's house and shows her the medallion with Joseph's name and date of birth on the medallion. So after refusing, I'm saying metal and medallion interchangeably, but
I
it's a
want to say
metal.
medallion a bunch of
Yeah,
times too. I'm just saying
yeah,
like, oh, child's a necklace. I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. A chain or whatever, you know.
A chain.
Yeah. So
Put the
after
coin on it. I don't
refusing
know.
to hand the medal over to the police, John attempts to speak to Senator Carmichael as he's about to depart by plane, but he's restrained by his security. And then John yells out, "I have your medal. It was hidden with the body. A little boy. The police know about it." And it's like, chill, John. Like, damn, you're gonna blow up
Yeah.
the spot before you get a chance.
Yeah, he went in that scene. I wasn't expecting that. I'm just like, yo, did he have a few drinks before he did this? Like, what's going on? Like, you could have approached this in a different way, and you went off. And I mean,
Yeah,
I understand because that was a time where he was literally about to just get on the plane and take flight, and then that you would have lost your chance right there. But bro, like I don't know. I feel like there was another way that he could have went about it instead of going off like that because you put too much attention on yourself.
right. The senator then reveals that he has an identical medal to the one John found. When John arrives home, Joseph, the ghost, is like throwing a temper tantrum and opening and closing all the doors in the house. He's just having like a hissy fit. And in probably like the most hilarious scene in an otherwise very serious movie, John yells
Yeah.
out loud, "You goddamn son of a bitch." It's like, John, this is still a child. Like,
Right.
you're like swearing at a child. You just call a child a goddamn son of a bitch. But
He's over it,
honestly,
man. He's
I'm
tired.
here for this energy. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
Fuck them
No,
kids.
yeah, same.
Yeah. So he says, "What is it you want? What do you want from me? I've done everything I can. There's nothing more to do." And again, it's a shot of from upstairs looking down on John. And it actually reminded me a little bit of Jennifer Love Hewitt again from I Know What You Did Last Summer. That same, "What do you want from me?" Or "What are you waiting for?" Remember, "What are you waiting
Yeah, what are
for?"
you for? And it was like that overhead shot.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
referenced that scene last week too from The Ring. I don't know why, but that scene is just stuck in my. I think it's because of Scary Movie and how good they spoofed it. You know.
Yeah. You can't never watch something and not think about like scenes from Scary Movie now because they
Yeah,
did it so well. Like even like the Scream films, like I love those movies so much and I hold them dear to my heart, but I can't help but to reference Scary Movie most of the time when I watch them.
yeah. Like
So
when I was rewatching Scream, I was like, Scary Movie did this better. Like, I know it's sacrilegious. I know, they're different movies. As a horror
yeah.
movie, Scream is better. As a
Yeah.
funny movie, yeah, the Scary
Yeah,
Movie's better.
totally.
But
Yes.
so the senator then sends a policeman, Captain DeWitt, played by John Colicos, to his home in an attempt to retrieve the medal.
He was a dick. And I mean, I get it. He was trying to do his job, but geez.
Yeah, he had like small dick energy. Like, fuck this
Oh
dude,
yeah.
man.
Definitely.
Yeah. So he even threatens John with putting him in an insane asylum. So John refuses, and when DeWitt leaves, well, he says, "You can give it to me now, or I can go get some men and we tear this place apart." And John's like, "I'll be waiting for you," you know?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, I'll be here. I'll be
Yeah.
waiting. Like, sure. John has a good way of hiding things. Like I would actually believe him because he's just like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. It didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because it's
don't
funny
have what you think I have.
because after the policeman leaves, he literally pulls it out of his pocket. Like, it was right there. Dude, like, hide it or something, But
Right. Because I mean, I guess he know that he can't be touched unless there was like a search warrant or something. So
But see,
I
that's
guess
that like white privilege shit, right?
there you go.
Because if
There you
you and
go.
I were arrested, or not even arrested, just talked to in our own home, we'd be
Yeah.
sweating it. Like, we couldn't like
Yeah.
talk back to this man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just
There you go. It's that privilege right there. He
yeah,
knew that he could get away with that enough, and he know he wouldn't be touched. So yeah, he
yeah.
kept it on him. He like this man not going to touch me.
You can't touch me. Dewitt leaves to obtain a search warrant. Then around the same time, Claire has shown up at the house and tells him that they've canceled his lease to the house, and she's been forced to resign because, as you recall, Carmichael is a huge investor, or he's on the board of directors of the historical society and all that sort of stuff, and they've been fucking around in his business. So she says she's going to the society to see if she can get any other information. the the camera pans down the stairs and Joseph leaving his room. That's what I took it like, to go do what he needed to do. So John walks to the mirror, and as he's standing there, the mirror explodes in his face, and we
Yeah.
see like a superimposed like Captain DeWitt. His windshield is broken out, and so he's like in the hole that the mirror just made.
Yeah.
It's a great image. It's a great
Yeah. It's a
shot.
great shot. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then one of the shards of the mirror went into John's neck,
Into
so he has to
John's
pulls it
neck.
out.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
like anything going in, penetrating the neck, or just. That's one of my things I don't like. I just got chills. I don't like it.
How do you feel about vampires then?
See, that's different. I don't know, because you don't. I don't. Maybe because I'm so desensitized with vampires, and I know
Yeah,
they're not real, so I'm just like, eh. But a blade or shards of glass can actually go in, and it's just, I don't know. With vampires, I'm just like, most of the time when they're like biting you, you don't really see it because they're like hovering the neck, and then they magically heal the hole, and you're. It's just it's a lot of like supernatural shit going on, where in this movie and other movies where blades going in and just real life stuff can happen.
yeah,
It makes me cringe,
I feel you.
so I don't like it. Mm-mm,
I got you.
mm-mm.
So then he gets a call from Claire, and she says she was passing by and saw DeWitt's car flipped over, and DeWitt was dead, and his windshield was cracked just as we had seen in the mirror. So when we saw the shot of the door opening and Joseph coming down the stairs,
Mm-hmm.
point of view shot, that was like him going to put in work. And I
Yeah.
just find that funny.
Look, I got your back, John. He ain't
Yeah.
gonna do shit.
Yeah. You ain't shit, you ain't never gonna be shit, your mama ain't shit.
Right.
So I just find it funny that he has to like leave the house like to do that. Like you would think you wouldn't, as a ghost, you wouldn't have to like walk. You could just phase or whatever to, but no, I guess
Yeah.
you gotta walk to where you're going. It's
This
like,
is a
even,
different version here.
yeah, like even when I'm a ghost, I gotta walk, man. That's fucked up. I don't like walking
I'm gonna
normally.
like levitate, or like you said, like phase into shit, or just, I don't know. But I mean, he did what he had to do.
He
He
did,
got
he
it
did,
done.
he did it.
He got it
Sorry.
done. It's not like he
So
left out and didn't get it done. He got it done. So
so after hearing of DeWitt's death, the senator finally agrees to listen to John's story and meets with him. And I love it. As soon as he walks into the room, he's like, "All right, what the hell do you want?" I was like, "Okay, you're a surly son of a bitch. I got you."
right.
So John reveals the entire story to the senator.
Hmm.
That his father murdered his natural son and replaced him with a changeling, which is the senator. He says, "None of this belongs to you." He says, "You're the beneficiary of the cruelest kind of murder, murder for profit." And I feel like,
He read him. I was just like, okay,
yeah, he's going off. Like he's
yeah,
he's earning his paycheck here.
yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
The senator refuses to believe the story and angrily berates John for accusing his father, whom he claims was a loving man, of murder.
Mm,
And I'm like, I, I think your definition of loving man and like our definition of loving man are two different
yeah.
things, man.
Two
'Cause,
different things, because yeah, your pop, he wasn't good.
yeah.
He was horrible.
So John then leaves the senator with Joseph's medal and files and the only copy of the seance recording, and he apologizes. Oh, before that, the senator said, "Okay, how much do you want?" And John's like, "This isn't about money. It's never been about money.
Yeah,
It's
because
been,
he thought he was trying to like blackmail him or something. He's like, I'm not trying to do that. It's not about money or anything.
yeah." Because those type of people, the uber wealthy, think everything's about money, and that you can pay anybody anything to silence them, to shut them up, you know. And honestly, like throughout history, it's worked for them, right? So I don't blame him for doing
Yeah,
it. But
very
John's like,
true.
"No, it's not about that." And so he says, he gives him all the medal and the files and the copy of the seance, and he apologizes. And then the senator, as John is leaving, like peacefully, he hasn't blackmailed you or anything. The senator can't help himself, and he threatens John and says there will be consequences if he tells anybody else about the story. And then John just looks at him like feeling pity for him, and walks
Mm.
away.
John is he's a vibe. I like him a lot. I
He's a
like him a lot.
very interesting,
Yeah,
like nuanced character,
yeah, he
you know.
is.
So yeah, and also what I appreciated was that they didn't make it a romantic relationship between him and Claire. They were just friends, and that's it.
Exactly. Now, if Tom Atkins was in this role, they would have made it a relationship.
Oh yeah, because Tom Atkins slays puss, bro. He's getting
Yeah,
any girl.
yeah. Every time he's in this movie, he's hooking up with strangers, like Jamie Lee Curtis in The Fog. Like you literally met this woman on the side of the road, and y'all already having sex. I'm sorry, I don't want to be cursing that much, but y'all already having y'all already fucking in the five
Yeah,
minutes that y'all met. And then same thing with Halloween 3. You just met this woman on your journey of trying to help find her father, and y'all already having sex in this weird town. It's just Tom Atkins is just, I guess he got it like that. I guess.
Tom Atkins
So
was a
if
vibe.
he was. So if you bought him and his mustache in this movie, I'm pretty sure they would have been in a great relationship in this.
Yeah, to be fair though, I don't think anybody wants to see George C. Scott fucking, but Tom
Oh
Atkins with
no,
his mustache would be like, hell yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm here
So,
for it. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
but I did appreciate that. I really liked that
Yeah,
it was an opposite sex friendship that was just that,
exactly.
you know.
Which can exist, you know what I mean? Like this man
Right.
is still, again, it's realistic. This man is still going through grief of losing his family, and meanwhile, all this paranormal murder mystery shit going on. I'm happy they focused on just them being friends, trying to figure things out together, and left it as that. Whereas as though I feel like if this movie was made in the mid '80s or even late '80s, they would have went that route with them squeezing in a romantic relationship somehow, you know. So I'm happy that they did kept that apart in this because it has nothing to do with the plot. It serves no like there's no it has no reason to be a part of the plot. So I'm happy that they actually kept those two separated.
Yeah, I agree. That's when you see like that romantic or I'm sorry, the romantic interest added to a movie. A lot of times it's studio meddling where they're like, we need, girls like to see romance in movies and horror
Yeah.
movies, and we know that not to be the case anymore. Like, women who like horror movies like it
Hmm.
just like we do. Like they don't need that romantic plot especially when it doesn't make sense. And so it
Yeah.
wouldn't have made sense here. They didn't do it, and I really appreciate it and I admire it about the director and the writer.
Yeah, exactly.
So meanwhile, Claire has been trying to contact John, but has been unable to do so. Right before she makes a decision to go to the house to see if he's there, we see the outside of the house, a light in the attic room turns on. And to me, I didn't understand what it meant, but now looking back at it, I'm thinking this is where Joseph like snaps. He's like, "Fuck all this shit, I'm done." And we're gonna see
Yeah.
what happens later. So
Right.
then, she then goes to the house alone in an attempt to find John. The door swinging open for her right away. No, absolutely not. Like I'm walking away, but she walks in, and she's tricked into going upstairs by hearing John's voice up there.
Right.
So it seems like Joseph has taken clips of John's voice. He's like a parrot or something, but he's recording.
Yeah.
He's
Ghosts
taken,
can do that now. I can mimic
yeah,
somebody. Like that's a cool ability. If I was a ghost, I'd be using that shit all the time to
hell
get what I
yeah.
want.
Order some pizza or
But
something.
right there you go. And I'm a ghost, so I can look at your credit card to see what your shit is, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
you won't know I'm there, and then I can use your voice. Bam! I got myself a pizza. Let's go. So
Yeah,
it's
that
pretty
was a
cool.
new
But
ability that I hadn't seen a ghost do. So
right,
I guess we've seen it, but I don't know. It felt weird here. But she was
yeah,
being drawn upstairs by John's voice. Obviously, it wasn't John; it was Joseph using his voice. And she walks up the attic, where once she gets up there, she is chased by Joseph's wheelchair until she falls down the stairs. So she gets to the attic, and the wheelchair starts making a noise, like rumbling or whatever. Then it starts chasing her. And then we get this beautiful scene of them going around and around, like down the stairs. But I was thinking, hey Claire, just let it hit you. What's the worst that you get? You get a bump in the shin, right? Like, what are we doing
I don't
here?
know, man. I think I will run too, just because
Really?
I would. Yeah, because I wasn't
You
expecting
wouldn't
that
just
shit to
stick
come
your
at
foot
me.
out and be like, no, and just like stop it?
I probably won't stick my foot out, but I probably would like put like move over to the side or something so it can like go by me. But then again,
Yeah.
a ghost is controlling it, so the ghost might like steer it in that direction and still hit me. And I'm like smashed into the wall. I don't know. But first of all, why is he doing that to her? What did she do?
Right. Exactly. This
I'm
is where
confused.
John's been helping you. Why are you acting
Yeah.
like this?
Yeah. I
Why
mean
are you
he's
the way that you are? You know?
I guess he's getting frustrated. He's like, I need y'all to hurry up. Let's go. Like, and then with
Yeah.
you, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
all a plan. I don't know.
So, well, that could be it. Maybe he was like, okay, first, I want y'all to fuck up the senator, but then I'm gonna still get y'all. You know, this is just a temporary truce until that happens. You know. So she falls down the stairs. Meanwhile, the house begins to shake and rumble, and John arrives and escorts Claire outside. But then has to go back inside to try and stop the ghost of Joseph. It's like, what are you gonna do?
Right.
What are you as a 90-year-old looking man going to do to a ghost house?
This ghost has control over everything. You are not going to be able to do anything in here. Joseph reigns supreme in this situation. So I think you should leave.
Yes. Just stay
You
outside. Just
know?
look at what happens outside. Or
Yeah.
yell at him from outside. He can hear. He hears
Yeah.
you.
Apparently, like, I mean,
Yeah. So
Joseph is
then,
he's a kid with many abilities as a ghost. So I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure hearing outside is one of them. I mean,
So John enters the house, and there's this strong wind, and it's refusing to let him enter any further, and actually causes John to fall from the second story. But he survives. But we do see like his musical sheets laying on the floor around him. And I was thinking, Joseph is a petty bitch, right? Because you didn't need to do that.
no.
You didn't have to do all that.
Yeah, that was shady.
And then to top everything all off, Joseph lights the house on fire, which I searched for everywhere and I couldn't find out how he actually lights this house on fire.
Now Joseph can just make fire appear. You know, Joseph, he's one of the, you know what, I'm starting to like him as a ghost because he's starting to have all these abilities that I just didn't know that ghosts have. And now that I'm talking with you, I'm just like, wait, he's mimicking voices, he's setting shit on fire with, just cuz he can
Yeah,
control stuff, he can just, teleport to different places. Like, Joseph is the real deal. I like him.
yeah. He is a hard working ghost. The
He is
hardest
for a
working ghost in
child.
show business.
Yes. Imagine if he was an adult. I mean, he's
Yeah,
just a kid. So,
yeah.
wow. I mean, he's been dead for 50 years. So, I mean, I guess he has some practice.
That's true. So back at the senator's home, he is observing the two birth medallions, and he throws Joseph's away while placing his own on a portrait of his father. Suddenly, the picture and the desk start shaking violently, and an illusion of the senator is transported to the house and begins to climb the stairs, which then crumble. I'm just going to continue talking and then I have some questions.
Okay.
So I have thoughts.
Okay.
So John sees the senator's illusion walking up the main staircase, and he narrowly escapes being crushed by that chandelier. So it's a beautiful scene here of the senator ascending this burning staircase. It's probably one of the best shots in the movie, let alone one of the best shots in horror movies. It's so beautiful. Meanwhile, the senator's illusion continues to climb up the stairs to Joseph's attic room, where he witnesses how his father murdered the real Joseph by drowning him. Back at the senator's mansion, the senator himself suffers a heart attack and dies as Joseph's attic room explodes. So, what do you think happened here? Let's start there.
All right. So, I was confused at first because I'm just like, all right, how before, um, I guess the senator projected to the house and started ascending up the stairs and then had
Okay.
that heart attack. I at first before that I was like, all right, how's he there when he was just at this place? Like, what's going on? And but then I realized that he's astral projecting. So I said, all right, cool. But how is that happening? Like, how is he astral projecting? And then like, did Joseph like pull him there to make him appear here? And then all of a sudden uh he couldn't take what was happening and what he's seen, so he had a heart attack in his real body. It just it didn't make sense to me. I mean, I
Mm.
didn't mind a senator going. Obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, he's trash, but it was weird how all of that happened. And I mean, it's a beautiful shot of him, like you said, him going up there and that whole thing happening. But it just, I didn't get it. I
Yeah, I agree
didn't.
with you. Everything you said, him being astral projected to the burning mansion, I I think that's what happened. But what I'm questioning is it kind of like in Nightmare on Elm Street, where when you if you die in your dream, you die in real life? So did he die in the astral projection when the room exploded, and so he died in real life? Like, is that what Joseph needed to do? He, like you're saying, needed to get him there ast- by astral projection so
Hmm.
that he can blow up the room and kill him in
Kill him.
real life.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay,
Even though,
yeah, that's kind of
even
dope, honestly.
Yeah, that's cool because now Joseph can make people astral project and then bring you into a place and kill you. Like as I'm talking to you, big guy, I'm like, yo, Joseph is really lit as a ghost. Like now he got all these fucking abilities. That's just fucking amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
But that is a creative way how to kill somebody. And I do believe that's how it worked too. Like if you are astral projected, it's kind of like um a dream, I guess, where if you have people that they say like if they're sleepwalking, don't wake them up because then they'll wake up violently or something like that. So it's kind of the
right.
same way. Also, like you say in the Nightmare on Elm Street, they die and in real life if they die in their dream. I guess same thing with astral projecting, like whatever situation you in, if you die in there, because that's an outer body experience. So pretty much, I guess I'm not too sure if that means your soul left your body. So if your soul dies, then obviously your real body's going to die. So I'm assuming that's what happened with
Yeah,
with him. Like he died, his soul went there, astral projection. Joseph got him out of here, and then his whole body just died because I mean he had a heart attack because of that. So I think that's what happened. I like it. It was confusing, but now that I'm talking to you about it, I think that's exactly what happened, and I love it.
yeah, it's wild. The same,
Yeah.
like just talking it out with you. It's like, oh shit! Now I see what they're going for, and
Hmm.
it's wild. I love it.
Yeah.
So later, John and Claire arrive and see the senator's body being hoisted away. The ambulance then passes the Carmichael mansion, which is now completely engulfed in flames. The next morning, at the ruins of the mansion, Joseph's burnt wheelchair is seen sitting upright, and his music box then opens and begins playing a lullaby, possibly signifying that the justice he wanted has finally been served.
Mm. And I love
And
that.
that's the end of the movie. So,
The end.
what did you think of The Changeling?
I loved it, and I think I love it even more now that I'm speaking with you about this movie. And even though this is my first time watching it, and again, I still want to watch it again just in case of things I missed. But now that I'm speaking to you, and I'm realizing that Joseph is a bad bitch, like I'm here for it. Like I'm here. There's also very is also deep as long as and also entertaining, and it's a good movie. It did things in its time that a lot of movies didn't do, and I appreciate that. And I'm just mad at myself that I waited so long to watch this, but I'm happy that this is my first viewing because, again, like I said before, I get to experience this with you for the first time, so I really appreciate that. But I would definitely watch this movie again. I would definitely buy like a Blu-ray version of this if it's available because I want to add it in my collection.
Yeah,
Because it's not just a horror movie; it's also like a mystery. You know what I mean? It's also, I'm not gonna say like thriller, but yeah, I would just say like horror mystery
yeah.
more. Because you're trying to solve a case. But I had a good time with it, and I think this movie was very smart too. So I enjoyed
I
it.
yeah, I love this movie even more now watching like the third or fourth time, and it's so masterfully directed,
Mm-hmm.
scripted, and shot. The suspense, the like we talked about earlier, the atmosphere. Would you recommend this movie to other people?
Yeah.
Because I think the movie is so like criminally underrated. Like not
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
people talk about it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I don't hear or see a lot of people talk about it. So I would definitely recommend this to certain types of people because I know there's people, and that's another thing. I don't want to make this too long as far as my opinions on horror, but horror, there's different genres. I'm not gonna say different genres, but there's different types of horror. You know what I mean? So when you speak to somebody that's not much of a horror head like us, they always consider, um, oh yeah, Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy Krueger. They think of just the typical slashers and maybe the
Yeah,
Ring and their Grudge because that was a big thing, but they don't dig deep into the crates and find movies like this. So I would maybe suggest this to somebody new, but I feel like they may not like it. So I would suggest it to people that I know like psychological thrillers or horror mysteries, like we know what we said,
yeah,
and even something different. Like if you're looking for something that's outside of a slasher and that's a smart movie, but also like a haunted house movie, but not your typical haunted house movie, I would suggest this movie as well. So that's definitely a yes. And yeah, now that I've seen it, I'm definitely going to suggest it to a few people that I know.
cool. So actually, I wanted to say that I know you were talking about Poltergeist earlier,
Hmm.
and that was one of the pivotal movies growing up. And the director has said that Spielberg told him that he screened the Changeling during the production of Poltergeist for his crew, so that they
Wow.
would get the tone that he wanted to convey in the Poltergeist, or in
Okay.
Poltergeist, I should say. So I just thought that was cool, and I wanted to mention that
Yeah.
earlier. So
That's
what?
crazy how underrated this movie is, but it has so much influence on a lot of popular movies now. You know what I'm saying? Like now we talk about the Poltergeist and Stir of Echoes and The Ring. And I'm not too sure when Ringu came out because obviously that's a Japanese movie,
Yeah,
but like I'm not too sure if it came out after this movie here, but I'm pretty sure that it drew inspiration from the changes. So it's crazy
yeah.
how a lot of movies like draw from these like this movie, but it doesn't get the love and the credit that it deserves. So
Right. Yeah, The Ring came out like in '99, so it definitely came out after this one. But yeah, like you're
okay.
saying, like all the people that it has inspired, like even Martin Scorsese said that it's one of The Changeling is one of his favorite movies, and he even has his own like 35 millimeter copy that he screens at his
Wow,
home for whenever he wants to see it. So yeah, it
that's
is
great.
definitely influenced a lot of people. So
Yeah, I love that.
Bobby, what we do here now is we rate the movie out of 5 upside down crosses. So, what would you give The Changeling? How many upside down crosses would you give it?
Woo. Um, I would say out of five. I would give it. All right, so my opinions, I hate rating movies just because I know it's going to change.
I feel you. I got you because
It
I'm the same way. Depending on the day and the time of year, like
right,
the movie could change. I get it,
and
but this
usually
is
when I'm,
legally binding though, so I'm gonna need you. As long as you know that you did sign a contract, so this rating will stick.
I'll say right now, I would give it a 3.5 upside down crosses out of a five.
Okay,
3.5. Yeah,
that's good.
it may
That's good.
change. It may
Yeah,
change because usually when I first watch movies, it's either higher or lower, obviously. But my second watch, I might just be like, "Yo, 4 or 5."
yeah.
So
You're like
three and a
Joseph
half.
was that bitch. It's a 4.
Yes, there you go. And you know what? And that's what. And I was gonna, because I knew he was gonna obviously do this. I was gonna give it a 3, but I gave that extra because of Joseph. Because then I'm talking about, I'm just like, yo, Joseph really, like
Yeah,
he's a powerful ghost. So
he's about that life.
he's about that life.
So I agree with you. I really love this movie. I would actually probably give it 4 upside down crosses. But mm, I have to go 4.5. Yeah, because I there's not a lot to dislike about this movie. Yeah, and this is one that you can rewatch over and over. And I don't like watch movies a lot over and over, except for one or well, the whole Halloween franchise. I'll watch any time of
Oh yes.
year over and over and over again.
Hmm.
But other than that, I like branching out and finding out other different movies. But this is a movie that I definitely would watch again. So yeah, I'll say
Yes,
4.5 upside down crosses. So
I love it. Hey.
yeah. All right, Bobby. So what we do here is, in order to be fully absolved from your horror movie sin, I will be assigning you 3 movies that you need to watch. If you don't watch these movies, then you will never be fully absolved of your sin. That's not on me, that's on you. So, after
Mm.
about 20 minutes of trying to find Mr. Bobby Torres some movies here, we finally got three movies that he hasn't watched, and we had to go way back for some of these. So, I'm going to say The Haunting from
Mm.
1963. This is the classic, haunted house movie. It's made in the UK. Yeah, it's a great movie. I know you've seen movies that have come after it that have the same story, but this is that original, like we were talking about.
Mhm.
And then Don't Look Now from 1974, which is another kind of grief movie about a family or a father that's lost a child, and yeah, it's just a haunting tale. It's absolutely amazing. I think you're going to really love that. And the third one is Kathy's Curse from 1977. This is about an 8-year-old girl who becomes possessed through a
Uh-oh.
rag doll and by her demonic aunt. It's batshit crazy, but it's so fun. So I think you're really going to love that. So I would say those are the three movies that I would recommend to you.
I'm
So hopefully
game.
you can see those movies, and then you'll come back hopefully, and we'll talk about those and some other movie.
Hell yeah, I'm down. Thank you for giving me this assignment because I'm excited to get into these three movies. They seem like a blast. So you're giving me something new to watch, so I'm here for it. Thank you.
Hell yeah, no problem. So Bobby, I just want to once again say thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I know it's a slog, it's a long ass interview, but I had so much fun talking about the Changeling with you. So if you could please do me a favor and let my audience know where they can follow you. Let's talk about the podcast again. Talk about what you're doing with your YouTube channel, all that stuff. Where they can give you money if you have a Patreon set up or anything. Just let us know.
Okay. Well, I don't have a Patreon yet, but I will be trying to start one soon.
Okay.
But right now, you can find me Bobby Torres with a Z, not an S, on social media, Twitter, Instagram. You also go to my YouTube channel, Bobby Likes a Spooky. I review horror movies, theme ratings, do awesome collabs with other horror content creators. And I just came back to I just came back to doing that. I took a little break, but now I'm back on to bringing more content for you guys, and also new podcast, The People Under the Scares, with my buddy Mike. Damn, I can't even say Michael Brown. Sorry, Mike. And we kind of do the same thing. We review horror movies, just have awesome horror discussions, and it's just a great time on there. So yeah, you can find me on those platforms, and yeah, show your boy some love. Thank you.
Oh yeah, y'all need to definitely go follow him on Twitter and on YouTube, and also go follow his podcast, The People Under the Scares. I know I'm going to go do that right now and listen to some episodes. I'm sure it's going to be great. Bobby's
Thank you.
charming as always. So, if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at MHC, like My Horror Confessional Pod, MHC Pod. On Instagram, you can follow me at My Horror Confessional. If you would like to email the show, you can email me at myhorrorconfessional@gmail.com. The music was done by Taylor Fox. You can follow her on Instagram at the Taylor Fox. Her band is also going to be dropping an album pretty soon. You can follow them. They're called Great Hag. The artwork was done by my boy Cap Mikey. You can follow him on Instagram at Captain_Mikey_art. Also, if you guys can do me a favor, Spotify is now allowing you to rate your podcasts. So if you could please go on, give your boy 5 stars, 5 stars only. I don't want anything else. If you think that you're going to give me less than 5 stars, don't even do it. If I see you, I'm gonna smush your face. Also, go
And we're gonna
rate.
stick Joseph on you because he's a man. Well, he's a
That's
boy of
right.
many talents.
That's right.
5 stars.
5 stars only, and go rate and listen to the people under the stair. I'm sorry, the people under the scares as well. Rate them on podcast. And then I don't have iTunes or iPhone or whatever, so do whatever you got to do on that side too. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you.